All people in their lives strive for some dream or goal, for example, to become rich, influential, or to comprehend the truth and meaning of life, but some people are not like everyone else. This man wanted to be strong. This desire for strength remained with him even in his second life. In this fight, we see one man fighting against a large crowd. They shout at him, asking if he knows who they are. The men got tired of the boy's strange movements and decided to attack him. However, he manages to avoid being surrounded by them and uses a special fighting technique called capoeira. He managed to knock one of the men down. The remaining men decide to team up and attack him, thinking that he will not withstand their attack. But he surprises them with a series of kicks using basic taekwondo techniques. One of the men insults him, calling him an insolent boy and telling him to prepare to die by an axe. But instead, the boy uses another capoeira kicking technique and defeats all his attackers. He laughs at them and asks if it was the best they could do. One of the men complains that the unknown fighter is keeping them at a distance with his strange movements. The boy tells him to shut up and accuses them of starting the fight when he was just minding his own business. He attacks them again and warns them that they are all in big trouble. They are very scared and decide to run away because they think he is a demon. Their leader beats one of his own as he tries to escape and calls him a worthless man. The leader then tells the young man that his skills are just tricks and tricks, but he cannot defeat a real master with these dirty tricks. The leader explains that the strength of a true master depends on how he uses his inner energy. He wants to show the boy how it's done. So the leader attacks the boy and challenges him to try to block his movement with his monkey jumps. But the boy uses his boxing and cross-punching techniques and punches the leader right in the face. The young man asks the leader what he was talking about all this time. A boxing ring appears in his memory where two boxers are fighting, and the audience applauds loudly and expresses their delight. The announcer announces that Master Perfect Kong Sang-hyuk is back with a powerful cross-counter, a punch that lands straight at challenger Daro Antioanto. Daro Antioanto is knocked out, and the commentator states that Master Perfect has won again with a record of 432 victories in 18 defeats. They announce the champion's name, Kong Sang-hyuk. They wonder who can stop this incredible winning streak. The reporter congratulates Kong and says that he has overcome false news that his health is deteriorating. He defended his title again. The reporter asks that Kong mentioned in a previous interview that he had something to say. Tell me, after this match you will leave, is it true? Kong confirms this, saying that it is true. Kong then tells them that this match will be the last of his career. All the reporters are surprised and ask if there is a reason for this sudden decision. Another reporter wonders whether Kong's selection is related to rumors about his deteriorating health. Kong tells them it's true. When asked about his health problems, Kong explains that he has serious health problems. Champion Kong's manager, who is sitting next to him, asks the reporters to let him explain everything. The manager explains that long matches and intense training caused Kong's body to rapidly deteriorate. Reporters understand this, noting that Kong has been involved in the sport for 30 years and competes in very difficult mixed martial arts competitions. Kong holds the record as the longest-serving champion, and everyone is wondering if this is the end of Mr. Perfect. The manager then announces that due to Champion Kong's health, they will end the interview here. Kong thinks to himself of Mr. Perfect, a nickname he earned after becoming a legendary figure in the world of mixed martial arts. From early childhood, he demonstrated incredible success in martial arts. He is trained in many martial arts such as boxing, muay thai, taekwondo, wrestling, and many more. Kong became a champion just 3 years after he began his mixed martial arts career. He was unbeatable with an amazing winning streak and many records, but now Kong has been involved in the sport for more than 30 years and he has to accept it. He defeated everyone in the ring, but time defeated him. He is seriously and incurably ill. The treatment will take a long time and the result is unknown. Kang's heart wants to continue fighting, but his body can't keep up. Fate has robbed Kong of any reason to continue living and he wonders what he has left. Kong has always been lonely in life and it looks like he will remain lonely in death. There is no point in living any further. Isn't it better to die now invincible and in the rays of glory? The light is fading, a century of lawlessness, chaos and endless wars. The June Kingdom spread across the continent and fought with those around it. Even though the June Kingdom was not as strong as some other major countries, it was very resilient. This was due to the technique of spiritual development that came from India and was taught by Bodhidharma. They combined this with fighting skills to create martial arts. Other countries often tried to control and suppress groups that practiced these martial arts called Murim schools or sections, but the king of the kingdom, John Juzan, saw that these Murim sects had valuable power, could help them win wars. Therefore he supported and protected them. Juzan's successor, Juzan, continued to help them. He even made an agreement that the royal family and the Murim sects would not attack each other after the continent was unified. Eventually, the Jun kingdom became the most powerful. This marked the beginning of the golden age of the Murim sections. However, from time to time, conflicts arose between the traditional sects and the demon cult, which was supported by the dominant religion of the time, the White Lotus. This led to a cycle of good and bad times throughout history. The boy learns all this from a book called Jujitsu book. 2. He closes the book. He finds Murim's history very interesting, especially the one called Martial Arts. The cleaning lady then comes in and asks the boy Yun wait if he is here again. She reminds him that they can't let him sneak in all the time because the king will be upset. Yun says he's really sorry and thought it might be awkward for the woman. The woman tells Yun that this is her job and asks him to let her know in advance next time. Yun agrees and says he understands. The woman asks Yun where he's going now and he says he's going to play again today. Yun mentions that he might be back a little late. The lady reminds him to come home before dinner. Yun assures her not to worry and runs away. The woman watches him leave and comments on why boys his age have so much energy. She adds that every time Yun leaves, she worries that he might get into trouble. The man nearby agrees with her, saying that he is also worried. In fact, he thinks that the young master from the Golden Tiger Wall will be worth a lot of money, so he hopes that no one else will have time to kidnap the boy. Yun reaches the jungle and begins doing stretching exercises. After a while, he decides that this is enough and begins to practice boxing techniques. The voices repeat the words, Mr. Perfect, #1 in the world and the strongest man in the world. His opponent arrives and everyone wonders what match they will see today. The battle begins. Yun's opponent launches a high attack, but Yun easily dodges it. He plans to measure the distance with low kicks and wait for the right moment. However, the enemy uses a cunning move. Yun at first thinks it's a tackle, but then realizes it's a trick. Yun continues to practice his moves, punching and kicking into the air among the trees. The man who has been watching Yun from afar wonders what Yun is doing alone. Yun continues to train, and when he kicks the tree, it splits in two. Yun is amazed by the incredible power of martial arts, especially considering that he is only 9 years old in his thoughts. Yun reflects that 9 years have passed since he was reborn. In this world of Murama, with memories of his past life, he wonders if this world is a dream or reality, and whether the person he was in the past is his true self or who he is now. Yun believes that he was lucky to be reborn in Murim, because in his previous life, he could not fulfill all his desires due to the laws and rules of decency that existed there. Murim is a universe where issues of life and death are resolved with the help of force. Nothing holds him back here. He will once again make a name for himself that will rock the world, this time with his modern martial arts. The man who is watching Yun is shocked, and exclaims that it is impossible for a child to have such power. Yun comes closer and notices that it looks like he had an observer. He then asks the man why he was secretly watching him, and he replies that the boy's father ordered him to monitor his son's safety. Yun then mentions that he thinks the man saw all of the training Yun did. The man apologizes for this. Yun thinks to himself that the situation is not good. He is worried about what might happen if his father finds out about this. Yun's father is the leader of the Golden Tiger Wall, one of the 10 largest business clans with a lot of power in the Central Plains business scene. Although they rank last among these clans, they have a good reputation for their generosity and adherence to the dominant religion. Leader Jan Jiho had 2 daughters from his only wife and a son named Jan White. Leader Jiho asks his son Jan if it's true that he practices martial arts, which is practiced by bandits and rabble. Jan denies it, saying it wasn't him. However, his father gets angry and wonders if Jan would dare to lie. He tells Jan that he heard about him rolling on the floor and practicing punches and kicks. The father asks if this is the kind of martial arts that random street thugs use. Yun responds by saying that these are advanced techniques that will soon be called by his name, and he learned them from a certain master. Dad tells Yun that if he's going to lie, at least make it believable. Yoon is disappointed that his father didn't believe him. His father tells Jan to stop talking nonsense, and says that if Jan wants to study martial arts, he should do it like an aristocrat, not a beggar. He suggests finding Jan a good master and even mentions the nearby MANHUA school. He asks if Yoon wants to become a novice there. Yoon refuses, saying he doesn't want to. He adds that the martial arts he learned are amazing and advanced, no worse than what they have. The father's anger flares when he demands an explanation from Yoon for his seemingly absurd position. He cannot understand this sudden change in Yoon, who has always been an obedient son. In response, father states that he will send Yoon to MANHUA sect in 10 days and will not tolerate any objections. However, Yoon has a proposal. He asks his father about the real reason he was sent to the Hua Mountain sect. He suspects that his father has acquaintances. Yoon proposes a bet. Father must find a martial artist from Mount Hua to come and fight him, and then the father will see that his son has nothing to learn at school if Jan loses. He vows to obey his father's orders without question. On the other hand, if he emerges victorious, the father will not interfere with his studies. The father, with a sly smile, agrees to this bet, believing that he has caught his son in a trap. They give each other their word as men and seal the deal. But Yoon realizes that his father has more on his mind and meets the eye. The father notices Yoon's determination, but believes that there is no way Yoon can win. His opponent will be none other than the disciple of Chi Hyat-do, the first elder of the Hua Mountain sect. Known as the Plum Blossom Warrior, this fighter is very strong in battle, almost on par with a top-notch fighter. A girl attacks a boy, and there is not the slightest fear on her face, but only confidence in victory. Despite her efforts, the boy skillfully parries her attacks, calling them the Mount Hua crossblock. She decided that she did not put in enough effort, and decides to make every effort. The girl uses the stab fighting technique, and the boy uses the six-step sword. She decisively defeats him, and he praises her for getting stronger every day. He even suggests that it may soon become the first bud of Mount Hua. Grateful for his support, girlfriend Kong Yoonhwa promises to work even harder. Their teacher, watching from the sidelines, admires Yoonhwa's talent, his personality, and he briefly wonders what it would be like to have a daughter. Chi Hyat-do, the Plum Blossom Warrior, the first elder of the Hua Mountain School, devoted his whole life to cultivating talents, and did not find time for marriage and relationships. Hyat-do shares the news that an old friend has invited them to his home. Yoonhwa is very excited, and asks if she can have sweets there. Hyat-do assures her that it won't be just sweets. There will be a lot of other delicious food. Yoonhwa's eyes light up as she wonders if there will be more dumplings. She is completely ready for this. Hyat-do chuckles and agrees that there will be dumplings, but also mentions that there is one condition. Hyat-do explains that his friend's son, around the same age as Yoonhwa, is learning some strange and low-grade martial arts. The friend is worried and wants Yoonhwa to teach his son a lesson, and convince him to stop studying martial arts this time around. Hyat-do asks Yoonhwa if she can do it. Yoonhwa enthusiastically agrees, saying that he will teach him a lesson. Several days have passed, and the people at the Golden Tiger Wall training ground are discussing the upcoming battle with the Mount Hua sect disciple. Concerns arise about Young's chances. It is rumored that his opponent is an aspiring martial artist from the Mount Hua sect. Young's father silently believes that Young needs a major setback to bring him to his senses. Hyat-do arrives with Yoonhwa and apologizes for the wait. Father Young asks if their accommodation was suitable last night. Hyat-do expresses gratitude for the hospitality. Yoonhwa also thanks Young's father for his hospitality. Young is outraged that he is being asked to fight a child. Young's father reminds him that he is a child too. The father suggests starting sparring now that the introductions are complete. Hyat-do agrees and asks Father Young to take a seat in the audience. He clarifies that since this is a competition and not a fight to the death, the swords will be wooden. It is strictly forbidden to inflict serious injuries on the enemy. The moment one of them admits defeat or falls unconscious, the other will be declared the winner. Hyat-do assures that if they feel there is a risk of serious injury, they will stop the match immediately. Having established the rules, Hyat-do announces the start of the match between Yong Hui-tai and Kong Yoonhwa. Yoonhwa introduces herself as Mount Hua sect's fourth-ranked novice, Kong Yoonhwa. She explains that she will use the six-sword combination technique. Yong introduces himself as Yong Hui-tai and strikes a strange pose. Yunhua wonders about Yong's strange posture and behavior. She believes that in a training match, it is customary to represent one's sect in martial art and decides that her opponent is too arrogant. In response, Yunhua decides to try his best and when Yong expects her attack. Yunhua uses his six-sword combination technique, and Yong doesn't use anything, he just goes ahead. Yunhua, however, finds Yong's approach pathetic. Seeing him as a child without strategy or calculated movements, she believes that victory is in her hands as they begin to wrestle. Yong puts his wrestling skills to use and quickly defeats Yunhua on his first try. Takedown and no wooden sword will help here, the enemy is fast and strong. Yong's father, teacher Haekto and other spectators are amazed at such a quick and convincing victory. They've never seen anything like this. Yunhua protests, claiming that this is not martial arts but street fighting. Yong counters by saying that winning is all that matters in a fight. Mr. Perfect is not just a champion. He established a remarkable record, winning in all weight categories, from the lightest to the heaviest, one after another. His secret to success lies in the ability to exploit his opponent's weaknesses. During the fight, Yong hits Yunhua with a powerful blow, leaving a dent in the ground. Yong feels like a winner, but his father screams that the brat ruined the fight and now he's talking about victory. Yong is confused and asks if he really messed up. He explains that he stopped the fight because his opponent could not move and would have been seriously injured. However, his father scolds him, stating that what he was doing was not martial art but a street fight. Yong asks why that's bad. He trains and achieves enlightenment. This is martial art. Yong gives his father a headache. Haekto thinks the boy is right about something. It's amazing that Yong can control his internal energy so well at such a young age. But as a martial artist, Haekto cannot consider what they are doing to be a real fight. Haekto talks to Yoon and says that his fighting is no different from the martial arts of the demonic sects. Haekto tells Yoon that martial arts is not just about becoming strong, they are also about being noble and improving your mind and body. But Yoon asks Haekto, what is the difference between the invincible demon, a master of traditional martial arts, whose fame spread decades ago, and the king of eccentricity and nobility, who came from a demonic sect but fights nobly and honestly? This confuses Haekto and he asks Yoon what he just said. 80 years ago, there lived an experienced and respected martial artist named Invincible Demon Bangsong, who was a member of an ordinary martial arts group. Later he discovered the abyss of evil within himself. He learned some forbidden and evil ways of fighting and used them to kill many people. These forbidden paths were also in a secret book that talked about how to control your bad desires and become a better person. But Bangsong misunderstood this, and this made his evil desires even worse. Thus, he became the greatest villain of his age, and the king of eccentricities and nobility. Piet Yonghui has always enjoyed people's love. He is the leader of a street group. He wants to become super strong in martial arts and become one of the top 100 martial artists. Strict laws reign in his group. Hyun asks Haekto if learning the rules of martial arts makes you normal. Haekto believes that Yan's words make sense. He wonders if he was unfair in his thoughts all this time. He believed that people who follow strange paths seek only power, while those who follow the right paths are aimed at self-improvement and maintaining honor. But now he's not so sure. Hyun is puzzled by how seriously Haekto is taking this. He assumes that everyone has their own likes and dislikes. Suddenly, Haekto receives enlightenment. A blue glow surrounds him. Someone congratulates him and says it's great for their martial arts group. But Haekto downplays it, saying it's not that big a deal. He just realized that he still had to study and study if the boy could do it in a dispute. Hyun finds it a bit corny. Like in teen mangas, he wonders how Haekto achieved enlightenment because of what he said. Hyun then asks Haekto that he won their sparring anyway, right? Haekto hesitates a bit, but then agrees. Hyun excitedly tells his father that he won the bet. Father Hyun gets upset because he firmly believes in keeping promises. Haekto turns to Hyun and thanks him, saying that he gained enlightenment thanks to Hyun. Haekto then asks if Hyun is ready to fight him. Hyun gets a little annoyed and asks if this is really necessary. But his father scolds him, saying that this is a very rare opportunity. He tells Hyun that he will be able to see the incredible martial arts of the MANHUA sect up close. Haekto adds a condition and says that if he is satisfied with their fight, he will reward Hyun. Hyun is surprised and asks what the reward is. Hector explains that it appears that Hyun has only learned one specific technique, but if he is happy with their fight, he will help Hyun learn any other martial arts technique he wants. Hyun is excited and asks if Hector will really help him learn any technique he chooses. Hector confirms this but says it depends on how their fight goes. Then Hyun adds something else. He asks what will happen if he defeats Hector. Hector deep down thinks that for a child who is not yet 10 years old, this is very self-confident, but he still agrees and adds that if Hyun defeats him, he will be indebted to Hyun. In his thoughts, Hyun realizes that this is a great opportunity. He can learn a new technique, and the powerful elder from the Hua Mountains sect owes him. He notices Yunhua and feels a little sorry for her. Hector prepares to fight and asks Hyun if he is ready. Hyun takes an unusual pose and confirms it. The battle begins. Both fighters appear unusually still. Unlike the previous match, the atmosphere became quite serious. Hyun admits that Hector is truly a formidable martial artist, as he senses Hector's inner strength and sees his aura. He decides that he must somehow get into close combat. Contemplating whether he should feign an attack and then retreat, Hyun concludes that such a half-hearted maneuver will not work. He needs to cross the boundaries of the enemy's aura. He understands that weaker fighters often win by taking some damage in order to land a more powerful blow. Hector is surprised and thinks, "Wow, can Hyun really see the boundaries of my aura?" Hector decides to scare Hyun a little and increases the aura. Hyun is shocked and says that this is impossible because the aura is increasing. Hector tells Hyun that if he's just going to stand around and be afraid, he should give up and become a kid again. Hector even tries to hit Hyun with the weapon, but Hyun continues to dodge. Hector notes that Hyun's footwork is quite interesting. Hyun moves unpredictably and anticipates Hector's attacks. Hyun realizes that Hector doesn't take him easy just because he's young. Hector uses both real and fake moves and puts a lot of aggression into them. Hyun believes that if he keeps moving like this, he might find an opportunity to attack. So Hyun gets down and says, "This is it," and tries to hit Hector. But there is a sword in the way of his hand, which blocks his blow, and the boy hangs on it. He's in a lot of pain, but he doesn't make a sound. Hector admits that if Hyun continues to improve, he will become incredibly skilled. He feels the need to teach Hyun a lesson of failure, to help him grow, but then suddenly Hyun grabs Hector's hand, saying that it's his turn, and he wants to answer with dignity. He uses wrestling techniques. Hector realizes that Hyun is willing to sacrifice a little in order to deliver a powerful blow. Hyun's father notices this strange technique again. Hyun uses a jujitsu technique called the elbow punch. Hyun realizes that he caught Hector with this move, no matter how experienced Hector is. Once trapped in this submission hold, it will be difficult to escape. Hector pushes Hyun hard with his hand, and Hyun wonders how strong Hector's inner strength is. Hector then picks up Hyun and throws him to the ground with force. "Help, the child is being killed." That's the last thing Hyun thought. Hyun passes out and later wakes up in his bed. His body is bandaged and he is in pain. Hyun realizes that he has lost the fight. Although it is disappointing, Hyun believes that the experience has brought him some benefit. He believes that everyone has moments of victory and defeat in life. Even if you're upset about losing, you shouldn't give up. Someone outside the room announces that Hyun is finally awake, and they enter. This is Hector. Hector asks Hyun how he felt. Hyun asks, "How does it feel?" Hector says, "Losing for the first time in your life is pretty bittersweet, right?" Hyun replies that this is not the first time he has lost. Hector asks, "Oh really?" He didn't expect to find such an experienced guy like Hyun in this field. Hector tells Hyun that if he intends to follow his own path in martial arts, he has some options. Hector then asks Hyun if he is training to become stronger or just wants the excitement of battle. Hyun replies that he just wants to enjoy the fight. He believes that it is more effective to try to improve existing martial arts instead of learning completely new ones. Hector asks why Hyun then avoids studying existing martial arts. He notes that these different martial arts have their own strengths. Hector asks Hyun if he is willing to give up these benefits. Hyun realizes that Hector is right. Hyun believes that he was stubborn by ignoring well-developed martial arts in this world and adheres to the modern martial arts of his previous life. He realizes that criticizing Elder Ki Hector before the fight was a contradiction. Hector finds Hyun truly charming, as he seems to gain enlightenment himself. Hector is excited to see how much stronger Hyun will become the next time they meet. He wishes Hyun all the best until they meet again. Hyun stands up and thanks Hecto. Hecto invites Hyun to visit Mount Hwa next time and Hyun agrees, saying that he will do it. Hecto then leaves 10 years later. During this time, the youngest master of the Golden Tiger Wall had grown into a respected teenager. Hyun goes outside and realizes that it is so bright. Perhaps because he has not been out in the sunlight for a long time, he did not expect his isolated training to last so long, but during this time he managed to reach the highest peak level. After that fight with the schoolmasters, Hyun was able to break free from his father's control. He continued to practice modern martial arts and work on improving his internal energy. Hyun just finished a whole year of training in isolation and returned home. He goes to his father who was drinking tea and says that he has returned. His father asks if he's really back and Hyun confirms it. His father tells him to get out of the estate. This is unexpected for Hyun. His father wonders how long Hyun plans to continue training without doing anything else. He thinks that now that Hyun is older and stronger, he should explore the world and travel. And deep down his father hopes that his son will get married. Hyun explains that he wants to continue training to become even stronger in case he encounters unforeseen circumstances. He is afraid of encountering groups of martial artists while traveling. Hyun's father hits him on the head in frustration and asks if he's joking. He wonders why martial artists travel in groups. He believes that once Hyun reaches the highest peak level, he will be respected no matter where he is. He tells Hyun to visit his sister from the Nangong clan and introduce himself to her relatives. As a first step, the Sword Emperor Nangong Jokian resides there and can accept his request for a duel. Hyun agrees. He orders Hyun to leave the next day. Hyun is surprised and asks if he really has to leave tomorrow. The next morning, Hyun informs his family and everyone at the Golden Tiger Wall that they won't be able to see him for a while. He assures them that he will send updates from time to time. Everyone advises him not to forget to eat on time and, if necessary, to use a carrier pigeon. They ask him to take care of himself. Traveling around Janghu is something that Hyun has never tried in his previous life. There are many strong people in Murim and they should wait for Hyun. He believes that he will soon become the strongest man in Murim. Hyun has a special glove that turns into a blade when he activates it. He was a little worried because he asked for this equipment himself, but it works fine. While in the forest, Hyun looks around and says that he has finally gone on the trip he dreamed of to Jinaga. Really quiet, and he has a thought. He decides to fly and flies high into the sky, wondering if he should go faster. When he reaches the entrance to the city, a long line of people is waiting for him. One man in line wonders why there is such a long line outside the small town. He thinks that if knew Qinggong, he could fly in and skip the line. The man behind him tells him to be realistic, saying that people can't really fly. At that moment, they see Hyun flying towards the entrance and landing on the ground. Hyun notes that Qinggong is really useful and asks where he is. The man explains that it is one of the 3 largest cities in Hunan province. Hyun asks how to get to Anhui province and the man advises him to go to Luoyang. He suggests that if Hyun is not in a hurry, he should stay here for a while and enjoy a good meal at an inn that is known for its delicious dishes. The man suggests to Hyun, "How about we give it a try?" Hyun responds by saying that he will stay here today and thanks the man for the information. The man expresses his gratitude to Hyun for showing them the amazing sight. 2 men nearby ask each other if they saw this. One of them confirms this, saying that it is quite obvious from what Hyun is wearing. The man tells the other that their leader will really like this in a tavern. 3 men chat while enjoying their meal. One of them asks the others if they have heard of someone called the Tyrant in Phantom Armor, King Mu Chiun. The second man replies, of course Mu is one of the top 100 martial artists. The first person agrees and asks if they know about Ku. He explains that the Phantom Armor Tyrant King's disciple must visit the Nangan clan. The third person asks about the purpose of the visit. The first person reveals that the Phantom Armor Tyrant King owes a huge debt to the Sword Emperor, Sir Nangong Jushin. That's why he sends his disciple to bring him the gift. As a result, the Nangong clan prepares a formal reception for the disciple. Hyun overhears their conversation. While chewing his food, Hyun wonders if the Phantom Armor Tyrant King's disciple is also heading to the Nangong clan. He thinks that if things go well, he will be able to see the Armor Tyrant King's martial arts. Suddenly troublemakers arrive at the inn and demand that a path be cleared for them. The 3 men who were talking earlier wonder why these troublemakers are here, and decide to run away to avoid any trouble. The troublemakers start kicking the door and breaking it down. Their leader, Kwang Swak, announces that the Dark Heaven sect will take control of the inn from now on. He assures everyone that if they cooperate, nothing bad will happen. People are wondering why a supreme martial artist is in such a place. Kwang calms them down, saying that they are here to meet the disciple of the Phantom Armor Tyrant King. Some men wonder if the disciple of the Tyrant King and the Phantom Armor is really here. Hyun thinks to himself that he doesn't know who the disciple of the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor is, but he will be in trouble because these troublemakers are after him. Kwang approaches Hyun and calls him the disciple of the Tyrant King and Phantom Armor, asking him to come with them. Hyun is so surprised that he spills the water he was drinking. He tells Kwang that he is not the disciple of the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor. Kwang insists that Hyun shouldn't pretend not to know, and says that it would be stupid not to recognize him in that armor. Kwang convinces Hyun not to worry, promising to spare his life if he gives up the gift meant for the Nangong clan. Kwang thinks to himself that by taking the elixir of heaven's ascension, a gift that Hyun possesses, he will reach the level of supreme peak. Then this region will belong to Kwang. Hyun realizes that talking to Kwang and his men probably won't work because they seem stubborn. So Hyun decides he has no other choice. He gets up and starts to leave. One of Kwang's men tells Kwang that Hyun is trying to escape. Kwang asks if Hyun really looks like he's running away. Hyun looks back at them and invites them to come with him. They find themselves in a place among the trees. Kwang tells Hyun that it is not too late and asks him to give the elixir of ascension to heaven. Hyun yells at Kwang to shut up and insists that he is not the disciple of the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor and attacks. This angers Kwang, and he asks Hyun if he even knows who he is dealing with. Kwang threatens to kill Hyun because it seems like Hyun wants to die. Kwang attacks Hyun with all his might, telling him to die, but Hyun manages to dodge the attack and counters with a powerful blow using the spin kick back elbow technique. Kwang is thrown into a tree, breaking it on impact. Kwang's men are shot and wonder how Hyun could send a supreme martial artist flying with just one blow. Hyun yells at Kwang's men and asks what they are looking at. He warns them that they are in trouble too. The men start screaming at each other, telling each other to run away because they think the Tyrant King's disciple in the Phantom Armor is causing chaos. The next day the two men are talking again at the hotel. One of them wonders what happened to the disciple of the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor yesterday. The other guy says he's curious too. The first man explains that since Hyun was taken away by first martial artist Invincible Single Shield and his followers, he doubts that Hyun escaped without getting hurt. Another man suggests telling the authorities, although it is too late. He feels sorry that a young man like Hyun became a victim. The first man asks what if they face retribution when the troublemakers find out. They may get hurt if they find themselves in such a situation. Suddenly a man enters the hotel and shouts, "Big news." The men ask him what happened, and he informs them that the Invincible Solitary Shield and his group were defeated by the disciple of the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor. The man adds that what is even more amazing is that they are all alive, but their energy has been destroyed. People wonder if this is even possible. Another man says it's impressive to be able to stop criminals without killing them. Hyun is truly the young dragon, the dragon who represents honor and justice. People rejoice at the appearance of this knightly dragon. Some people think that this means that the elixir of heaven's ascension is still in the possession of the disciple king, which will be great news for Chief Sadachek. Hyun expresses disappointment. He can't believe that such weak people are causing problems in such a dangerous place as Murim. Kwon and his men turned out to be much weaker than Hyun expected. However, Hyun is sure that supreme martial artists or incredible people must be somewhere in Murim. You never know. The child and the old man whom Hyun accidentally met on the road could be the cause of the problem in this world filled with violence. Well, Hyun thinks, but not the worthless and weak ones he contacted yesterday. Hyun notices something inside. He tells whoever is hiding to come out now. The men hiding behind the trees note that Hyun is much younger than they expected. Another says Hyun looks fragile and weak. Hyun asks them who they are. One of the men asks Hyun if he has anything healthy. He asks if Hyun is willing to share it with people as pathetic and weak as them. Their leader arrives and addresses Hyun as the disciple of the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor. Hyun gets very annoyed and tells them that he already said that he is not the disciple of the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor. The leader tells Hyun that there is always someone better and then attacks him. He suggests that Hyun try to use his ridiculous technique to defend against the attack. However, Hyun responds by punching the leader hard in the face and throwing him to the ground. Hyun looks back at the leader's followers and they all act scared, lying on the ground as if they were injured to avoid being attacked by Hyun. Hyun thinks he doesn't need to spare their lives, but since he already destroyed their energy sources, they probably won't be able to take revenge. Hyun then muses that now that he has become a martial artist, he will not be able to avoid shedding blood. Meanwhile, somewhere a village is burning. A man who sits on his knees and cries begs for someone to save his life, mentioning that he has a wife and children. However, the other man refuses and attacks, killing him. The man tells the lifeless body that he shouldn't have crossed his path and that's why he had to destroy the entire village because it upset him so much. This person is the Fist Demon, the twin brother of the Palm Demon. Someone approaches the Fist Demon and tells him that they have no time to waste. They must find the Tyrant King's disciple in the phantom armor before he arrives in Nangong. This person is the Palm Demon. Fist Demon urges Palm Demon not to worry, saying that he is almost certain that the disciple has not yet reached Luoyang. Palm Demon asks Fist Demon how he knows this. Fist Demon replies that he has good instincts. Palm Demon finds it surprising that Fist Demon himself says this. They leave and behind them remains a destroyed village in the forest. Hyun calmly drinks tea with the men. One of them informs him that to get to Luoyang, he just needs to keep walking in that direction for about another half day. The man invites them to travel together as they are heading in the same direction. Hyun agrees, thinking it's nice to have friends. He hopes that this will put an end to the pesky troublemakers following him. Hyun also genuinely wonders who the current disciple of the Tyrant King in the phantom armor is. Suddenly there is a huge explosion that shakes the surrounding area. Hyun acts quickly to ensure the safety of the men accompanying him. They gratefully thank him for his quick response. Hyun advises them to leave the place immediately due to the existing danger. The Fist Demon and the Palm Demon arrive. Fist Demon addresses Palm Demon, confirming that his previous prediction was indeed accurate. The Tyrant King's disciple in the phantom armor has not yet arrived in Luoyang. Hyun's voice rises as he yells at them, revealing that he is not the disciple of the Tyrant King of the phantom armor. Demon Fist asks if Hyun expects them to believe his words. The Palm Demon, on the other hand, admires Hyun's courage to speak to them so boldly. He explains that they are known as the Fist Palm Twin Demons, notorious villains from previous generations. These two were very bad criminals who liked to hurt people and kill for no reason. They became enemies of the Murim world and angered many people, but they were elusive because of their skill and animal instincts. Palm Demon explains that they planned to take a break until they reached a certain level, but they heard that Hyun had the elixir of heaven's ascension. In response, Hyun quickly kicks the Palm Demon, causing it to fall to the ground. The Fist Demon angrily scolds Hyun, accusing him of cowardly attacking. He then tries to attack Hyun. Hyun realizes that the Fist Demon's attack is fast but straightforward, presenting an opportunity for him to close the gap. However, the Fist Demon lands a powerful blow on Hyun, causing him great pain. Hyun realizes that if it weren't for his armor, the Fist Demon could have ripped out Hyun's heart. Demon Fist ridicules Hyun, calling him a fool and asking if Hyun believes he can anticipate the quick movements of Demon Fist's snake strike. The Palm Demon intervenes, telling Hyun that he is not protected. He activates his cannon shot palm and attacks Hyun. However, when the dust settles, it becomes clear that Hyun was unaffected by the attack. Palm Demon suggests that Hyun is not an ordinary child. The Fist Demon suggests ending the confrontation as quickly as possible, and the Palm Demon notes that there hasn't been such an interesting goal for a long time. Hyun realizes that both the Fist Demon and the Palm Demon are very skilled fighters, but they have similar fighting styles. The Fist Demon attacks Hyun, telling him that regret won't help now. He activates his powerful Death Hurricane Fist technique. Hyun realizes that he can't just dodge because the Palm Demon is waiting to attack him. Palm Demon notices that Hyun is intentionally leading Fist Demon's attack in a different direction from his own. Hyun also uses footwork that Palm Demon has never seen before. However, the Palm Demon doesn't allow a young man like Hyun to make a fool of him. He activates his cannon shot palm and attacks Hyun. Hyun runs after the Fist Demon. The Fist Demon asks if Hyun thinks he can survive by just hiding behind him. He activates his quick snake lunge technique and attacks Hyun, thinking that this is the end soon, but Hyun manages to kick Demon Fist so hard that he coughs up blood. The Palm Demon yells at Hyun, demanding to know what he did to the Fist Demon. Hyun shows the knife in his boot and says that the twins were overtaken by karma for killing innocent people. The demon tells Hyun to be quiet and attacks him, threatening to crush Hyun into fine dust, saying that the elixir of heaven's ascension has no meaning. Palm Demon uses its powerful cannon shot palm attack, striking Hyun at full force, sending him flying. The demon scolds Hyun for such arrogant behavior, believing that Hyun turned to dust along with the elixir of ascension to heaven. However, to his surprise, Hyun suddenly flies down from above, asking who turned to dust. The demon angrily asks Hyun when he went into a jump. Hyun advises them that if they want to save their lives, they should surrender now. Demon Palm warns Hyun that even with Qinggong, he won't be able to dodge this attack. He screams, palm cannon shot, and attacks Hyun in response. Hyun uses the spin kick technique to counterattack the opponent. The palm demon falls to the ground, blood pouring from its mouth. Fist Demon then asks Hyun if he thinks he is any different from them. He states that the smaller number of people Hyun killed, compared to the Fist Palm Demons, does not change the fact that Hyun will eventually become addicted to killing and obsessed with it, just like them. Fist Demon ominously tells Hyun that he will see him in hell and falls lifeless. With a mouth full of blood, Hyun counters that they don't know for sure. Hyun looks around the area, suspecting that someone is secretly watching him. He calls upon the hidden observer to reveal himself. The hider apologizes, admitting that he may have stumbled upon it by accident. He admits that he had the urge to help, but Hyun's fighting skills were so dominant and impressive that he felt obligated to just watch. Hyun wonders why the observer chose to remain passive rather than intervene. The man expresses sincere regret and offers to do everything to make amends. Seeking Hyun's forgiveness inwardly, Hyun theorizes that the man may be affiliated with the orthodox faction based on his polite manners and knowledge of martial arts observation etiquette. The columnist praises Hyun for his remarkable skills, expressing surprise that he was able to single-handedly defeat the notorious criminal mercenaries, the Fist Palm Twin Demons. Hyun is puzzled by the mention of a reward. He asks for clarification and asks if the government actually gave a reward to the criminals. The man confirms this, explaining that despite all efforts, the authorities were unable to apprehend these criminals and bring them to justice. Hyun asks the man if he remembers saying he would do whatever Hyun asked. He tells the man that in that case he should go and report this to the government. Lo Young first, the man gratefully grabs Hyun's hand and thanks him for his forgiveness. He introduces himself as Yoon Tae-ho and promises to inform the government about what happened. Hyun introduces himself as Yoon Vaitai and tells Hyun that they can meet again if fate allows it. At the Lo Young provincial government office, a man offers Hyun a bag of gold and says that it was a great honor for him to personally meet the famous night dragon. Hyun is surprised and asks, "Nightly Dragon?" He wonders when people started calling him such a scary name. Hyun takes the bag of gold and asks if it is a reward for the twin demons of Fist and Palm. The man confirms this and mentions that there is about 1 gold nyong in the bag. Hyun mentally calculates that a typical commoner's monthly expenses are about 1 silver nyong, and 1 gold nyong is equal to about 100 silver nyongs. So that's a lot. He is impressed that Tae-ho kept his promise as Hyun leaves. He reflects on his expectations for wushu stories, which feature the ancient Ming dynasty and often mention buildings. However, he is surprised to discover that this world is completely different. He had never heard of the Jon Kingdom's attempt to unify the Central Plain. This world is more developed and civilized than he imagined. While taking a bath, Hyun expresses satisfaction that he has found a technique that combines charm and magic, which is what he was looking for. He notes that the place is more like a fantasy world than the wushu world he expected. Hyun expects that he will learn more as he travels through this world at night. While Hyun is sleeping, someone enters his room and is looking for something. He checks to see if Hyun is sleeping. The man gets upset, muttering that it definitely happened here. He wonders where Hyun hid it. Hyun suddenly spoke up, advising the man not to steal. With skillful precision, Hyun blocks a person's acupuncture points. The person cannot move his body. Hyun asks him if he found what he was looking for, and Yoon Tae-ho addresses him. Yoon Tae-ho is surprised and asks how Hyun knew it was him. Hyun responds by saying that he knew it from the moment Hyun put the tracking scent on him when they shook hands earlier. Hyun informs Yoon that he must be mistaken in thinking that Hyun is the disciple of the Tyrant King Phantom. Hyun changes the subject, telling Yoon that now that he caught him red-handed, his life is in Hyun's hands. Hyun offers Yoon a choice. He can either face death at Hyun's hands or reveal his true identity. Yoon taunts Hyun, wondering if Hyun, the night dragon, will harm him. He asks if Hyun thinks it will scare him. Hyun warns Yoon that he still doesn't seem to understand the gravity of his situation. He asks if Hyun thinks that Hyun is incapable of resorting to torture. Hyun then explains that he's giving Yoon a chance right now. Yoon is now very scared and asks if Hyun is really the Dragon Knight of the Orthodox sect, and questions how he could engage in such activities. Hyun denies these rumors, explaining that it is a coincidence that the people who attacked him were all villains. Yoon tells Hyun that he will now bring the scissors to begin the torture. Hyun begs Hyun not to torture him, saying that he will do as Hyun says. Yoon decides to take off Hyun's mask first. Yoon asks him to wait a minute, but Hyun continues and takes off his mask. To Hyun's surprise, he discovers that Yoon is a woman under the mask. This discovery shocks him. The woman asks if Hyun has any complaints about her real identity. Hyun reflects on how the handsome guy he met in the Wuxian novel turned out to be a woman. Hyun thinks about what to do next. The woman, fearing that Hyun might kill her or put her in jail, decides that she should take action. She asks Hyun if he knows who she is. Hyun asks about her identity, and she reveals that her mother is the leader of the Hao clan. Hyun bursts out laughing, finding what the woman said incredibly absurd. He wonders why she was pretending to be a member of one of the three great clans of Loyang. The woman angrily protests that she is serious and insists that her mother is indeed the leader of the Hao clan. She warns Hyun that if he tries to harm her, she will kill him. Hyun reassures her, saying that he believes her. The woman is surprised and asks if he sincerely trusts her. Hyun explains that normally in such a situation, no one would impersonate the young leader of the Hao clan if she really is the clan leader's daughter. Then what she did was a mistake. The woman asks what Hyun means by mistake. Hyun informs her that thanks to her actions, he now has something he can use to control the situation over the Hao clan. Loyang Pavilion is one of the three most famous buildings in Loyang. It is known as a brothel, but what made it famous was a special wine called magic wine. Many influential and famous people visited this place. However, there is a secret of Loyang Pavilion that only a few know about. It serves as the headquarters of the Hao clan. Hyun enters Loyang Pavilion with this woman. Hao clan leader Yoon Seolhyun greets Hyun. Hyun expresses admiration for Seolhyun's composure, even though her own daughter is being held hostage. Seolhyun asks Hyun if he is threatening her. At this point, Hyun suggests they stop acting and be honest with each other. He asks Seolhyun if she expected him to grab her daughter. Seolhyun asks why Hyun thinks that. Hyun explains that her daughter Yoon Biwa has been a kleptomaniac since childhood, but this was the first time she had stolen so boldly. Hyun tells Seolhyun that it wouldn't make sense if the clan leader didn't know about it. He explains that Biwa was able to hide while the villains were chasing him because she had people from the Hao clan helping her there. Hyun also notes that it was Seolhyun who spread the rumor that he was the Tyrant King's disciple. Seolhyun responds by saying that Hyun's guess is a little far-fetched. Hyun raises his voice, telling her not to pretend she doesn't know. He explains that the only organizations capable of spreading rumors so quickly are the beggars and the Hao clan. He adds that the proof is her daughter, who was captured by Hyun. Biwa intervenes, shouting that this isn't fair. Seolhyun starts laughing and praising Hyun, calling him amazing. She recognizes that Hyun, a descendant of the Golden Tiger Wall, has exceptional abilities. Hyun realizes that Seolhyun has figured out his past and is annoyed by how she is spreading false information about him. He asks Seolhyun how she plans to compensate him for this. Seolhyun asks Hyun if he wonders why she did such things. Hyun replies that of course he's curious, but he doesn't want to get into more trouble. He tells Seolhyun that if she compensates for the losses he suffered, he will act as if it never happened. Seolhyun comments that Hyun acts like the leader of the Golden Tiger Wall and praises his speaking skills. She asks him what he wants. Hyun explains his two requests. First, if the Golden Tiger Wall asks for help from the Hao clan, they must provide assistance at least once. Secondly, Hyun asks for the Azure Wolf tablet. Seolhyun gets angry and asks if Hyun thinks she's stupid. She believes these conditions are too complex to compensate. Hyun counters by saying that the Hao clan caused him 3 significant losses. First, they spread false rumors, causing many people to chase him. Secondly, it strained his relationship with the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor, one of the top 100 martial artists. The latest loss occurred when her daughter tried to steal from Hyun in his room. Seolhyun gets angry and wonders how a young man like Hyun, an outstanding martial artist, can radiate so much pressure and bloodlust. She realizes that the information about Hyun was wrong from the beginning. Although Seolhyun is just at the beginning of her peak, she didn't expect someone Hyun's age to be so formidable. She admits her mistake and says that she should have found out about Hyun's level before taking any action. Seolhyun asks Hyun about the last condition. Hyun says it's not a big deal. He asks her to provide him with a list of Jeong, whose top 100 martial artists. Seolhyun asks why if Hyun plans to challenge each of them to a fight. Hyun confirms this, saying that he needs this experience. Seolhyun admits that a rising martial artist like Hyun could benefit from such challenges. She also reveals that it is true that the Tyrant King's disciple in the Phantom Armor possesses the elixir of heavenly ascension and plans to give it to the Nangong clan. Seolhyun informs Hyun that she was asked to ensure his safe arrival and was paid a large sum for it. Hyun understands and asks her why she is telling him this. Seolhyun apologizes for involving Hyun in this incident. Hyun says he's fine as long as he gets compensated and doesn't want to dwell on it regarding his daughter's misdeeds. Hyun hopes that Seolhyun will punish her severely. Biwa protests and asks why she should be punished. Hyun realizes that being on the list of the top 100 martial artists is a good deal. He reads the name of the rank 85 martial artist, Dam Hogue, and feels happy that Hogue is nearby. Hyun decides that he must fight Hogue. Although Hogue is ranked among the top 100 martial artists, the world pays more attention to his eccentricities than his martial arts skills. Hogue is known for his eccentricity, especially his obsession with discussing topics such as names. Rumor has it that if you can satisfy Hogue with your words, he may give you a token, called a beggar's tablet, which proves your connection to the beggar sect. However, no one ever received this plaque. Hyun greets Hogue and introduces himself as Hyun White, a newcomer to the Maroon world. He pays homage to Dam Hogue of the beggar sect. Hogue asks Hyun if he came to share interesting stories with him. Hyun confirms this and claims that he knows many stories that Hogue has never heard of before. Hogue boasts that he has heard most of the stories in the world, but is intrigued by the prospect of hearing something new. However, he warns that if Hyun's stories turn out to be ordinary, he will punish him. Following the pressure, Hyun realizes that Hogue is an incredibly skilled martial artist. He ponders what stories he should use to entice Hogue. Hyun gets excited thinking about sharing stories about wuxia and offers to continue their conversation at the hotel. Hogue insists that he won't drink with Hyun until he recognizes him as a real guy narrator. Later they find themselves in a cozy hotel. Hogue, eager to hear the continuation of the monkey story, questions Hyun's abrupt pause. Hyun playfully teases Hogue, telling him there is more to the story and urging him to enjoy the delicious food. Hogue, losing patience, demands that Hyun continue the story. Hyun is secretly pleased. His strategy seems to be working. He understands that any martial artist would love the famous story of Journey to the West. He debates whether to ask for sparring in exchange for this story. With a mischievous grin, Hyun finally asks the question. Hogue firmly states that for such a short story, sharing the beggar sign, the symbol of the beggar sect, is out of the question. Hyun reassures him by mentioning that he has a treasure trove of fascinating stories that he has yet to tell. Meanwhile, at the next table, a man invites a lady to join him at the table. While the lady resists, the lady asks him to release her, and asks about his behavior, expressing obvious disinterest sitting with him. Hyun sighs, realizing that situations like this are common in wuxia tales. Men hitting on women while drunk, just like in their previous life. The man continues to boast about his identity, claiming to be the young leader of the Shinto sect. He insists that the lady should feel flattered that he has shown interest in her. Hyun can't help but intervene, chastising the man for his pathetic behavior. Angry, the man warns Hyun, asking if he's looking for trouble. Suddenly, the lady takes matters into her own hands and slaps the man. Furious, he demands to know if she knows who he is. In response, the lady reminds him that he claimed to be the young leader of the Shinto sect, and delivers another loud slap, calling him an immature and spoiled brat. The leader of Zinti's group called the woman rudely, and drew his sword. Leader's followers insult woman. The woman asks them who made her sit with the leader even when she said no. She calls them all bad people. The leader tries to hit the woman with his sword. A woman defends herself from an attack. Haeg tells Hyun that he doesn't think this woman is weak at all. Hyun feels like he's seen things like this before. Scoundrels harass women and get punched in the face. The leader, whose attack is blocked, wonders why the woman is so strong. The man in the back tells the leader to stop waiting and just get rid of her quickly. But this man is kicked and he falls. Haeg stands over him and says he can't believe two grown men are attacking a woman. Haeg tells them that they should regret what they did. The fallen man yells at Haeg and tells him to stay out of it. Haeg throws another person from the leader's group into the air, and he collides with their leader, causing them both to fall to the ground. The fallen man yells at Haeg again, saying that he not only hit their young leader, but also knocked out his friend. The man tells Haeg that he made a big mistake, and asks if he thinks the Shin sect will let him get away with it. Haeg replies that they are the ones who made a big mistake, and wonders if they will know who the woman is. Even after seeing the design on her iron fan, she is a direct descendant of the Jug clan. Jug Mua. The man gets scared and asks for confirmation. Did he really say Jug clan? The Mua woman asks Haeg how he could recognize her after seeing the pattern on her iron fan. Haeg says that the elder of the beggar sect Haeg has no problem finding out. Mua greets Haeg and says it's nice to meet him, addressing him as Ser Dame Haeg. She says her name is Jug Mua, and she is new to traveling Murim. She mentions that she has heard about Haeg and his excellent reputation. Haeg tells her not to worry about it, as it's not that impressive. Mua expresses his gratitude to Haeg for his help. Haeg asks her why she is traveling alone if she knows martial arts. He is concerned that if she were to face a very experienced martial artist, she might be in trouble. Mua explains that although the Jug clan is not known for their martial arts skills, they excel in traps, devices, and academia. They also practice various types of magic. She mentions that if she meets a martial artist she can't handle, she will be able to summon a hungry golem, which is only taught to the direct descendants of the clan depending on the situation. She can also use space control magic. Jung realizes that Mua is skilled in magic and even knows summoning magic. He's thinking about teaching himself if he ever gets the chance. Jung asks if one of these people claim to be the young leader of the Shin sect. Haeg wants to know why Jung is asking and if he is worried. Jung responds by asking why he would worry. Haeg chuckles and admits that he may have made a mistake. He assures Jung that the Jug clan, one of the 5 great clans, will not be afraid of a small sect like Shin. Haeg informs Jung that, as a direct descendant of one of the 10 largest trading clans, Golden Tiger Wall, Jung has nothing to worry about either. Mua excitedly asks Jung if he is the son of the leader of the Golden Tiger Wall. Jung privately believes that all the female character types found in wushu stories are present here. He wonders if this place is the real world of Murim or just a virtual one. If it's virtual, then are all the people he's met and talked to fake too? Haeg notices Jung's behavior and asks what happened. Jung smiles and says that if the glitch /U00E9 still happens, he should deal with it. Now Haeg is puzzled and asks, what kind of glitch /U00E9? In the Shin sect, a young leader lies on a bed with a red mark on his face. Shin sect leader Kang Seokju stands next to his son and angrily asks who dared to harm him. He asks his followers to find out who did this. The man explains that the young leader was relaxing at the hotel when this happened. Seokju is surprised and asks, at the hotel? Who is guilty? The man tells him that it was a woman, presumably from the Ju clan, an old man who seems to be from the beggar sect, and an unknown young man. Seokju is worried because he knows that the Ju clan is one of the 5 most powerful clans and the beggar sect is also involved. He clenched his teeth, wondering what to do in this situation. Seokju decides that they must retaliate since the young leader of their sect was attacked. However, he realizes that the Shin sect is not strong enough to fight both Jug and the Jug clan and beggar sect. Seokju asks the man about the last person involved, but he doesn't know all the information. He says that it looks like this man, Yoon, met Jug for the first time. The man adds that it seems like he just recently met a member of the beggar sect. Hearing this, Seokju smirks, thinking that the last person must not be that important. Seokju orders the man to find the last person and bring him here. However, the man hesitates and suggests that he deal with this person first before taking action. Seokju disagrees, stating that even if a person has connections, he is still a better choice than the other 2. Since they do not know each other well, It will not be easy for them to interfere in their affairs. Siakju firmly orders the man to bring this guy here immediately and asks if he understands. Additionally, Siakju informs his man that if Yoon resists, he should beat him severely. Suddenly they are attacked with rocks, and Siakju and his man wonder what it is. In the midst of the chaos, Yoon appears and delivers a powerful blow to the man's face. This action enrages all of Siakju's people, who demand to know how Yoon dares to cause trouble in this place. They try to attack Yoon, warning him that he won't be able to leave here alive. In the midst of the confrontation, Yoon thinks to himself that clichés are best when they are subverted. Yoon operates using his martial arts techniques, first with a left hook, and then with a right hook, which allows him to strike and defeat all of Siakju's men. These people come towards him with swords, threatening to kill him. Yoon's body is filled with internal energy that he cultivates, capable of delivering even a standard blow. Incredibly destructive. When this internal energy is channeled by a supreme martial artist like Yoon, it becomes as powerful as a cannon. With just one blow, Yoon sends all of Siakju's men back. Siakju arrives on the scene brandishing his sword. He questions Yoon about the chaos he unleashed on his territory and asks whether the First Blood sect instigated Yoon's actions. Siakju then attacks Yoon with his sword. Yoon defends himself from the attack using his glove. Siakju notices Yoon's unique glove and comments on it. He then launches another attack, inviting Yoon to block it. Siakju uses a technique called Blood Demon Crane Kick and stabs Yoon. However, Yoon skillfully dodges the attack and counters with a powerful roundhouse kick. This causes Siakju to crash into a wall. Siakju realizes that Yoon destroyed his energy core with a simple kick. He demands to know who Yoon is. Yoon doesn't answer Siakju's question and instead looks the other way, annoyed. Siakju calls out to Yoon, asking if he's ignoring him. He orders Yoon to stop right there. However, Yoon's attention is drawn to a painting in the room. He notes that he can't tell if they're creative or not and questions Siakju about why he hid the money vault behind such an obvious painting in his room. Siakju grinds his teeth in frustration. A series of attacks by an unknown man begin, targeting various sects, starting with the Shinte sect, this unknown guy who single-handedly defeated all the sects and easily took their hidden gold. Among the things he took were secret books containing records of terrible crimes and smuggling. These recordings were reported to the government. All the sects that were attacked, including the Shinte sect, suffered despite things going well before people began to call this unknown man the divine thief with a knight's fist, because he was like a good thief who used his fists. It doesn't matter, but it is said that rumors about this divine knight fist were spread by the Hao clan and the beggar sect. Xiaohian thought that this might be enough to pay off her debt to Yoon Hui-tae. After the rumors about the knight fist divine thief died down, something happened. Yoon asks Lady Moa why she is following them, and she says that it seems funny. Yoon wonders why Moa is acting like a child and tells her that he is going to spar with Sar Dame Hog soon, so she should leave. Moa then asks, maybe it's not official, but since it's still sparring, isn't it Yoon, do you need a witness for this? She says that as a direct descendant of the Juba clan, she is more than worthy of being a second. Moa thinks to himself that he can't miss something so interesting. Hog agrees and mentions that the witness being a direct descendant of the Juba clan would be a good idea. Yoon interrupts, asking Hog to wait a little. He explains that since this is informal sparring, there is no need to show off your martial arts skills to others privately. He decides not to let Moa have his way. Hog agrees that Yoon's point also makes sense. Moa mentally calls Yoon a stupid man and wonders how he dares to use strategies against the Juba clan. She then asks Hog if he knows someone named Gujium. Hog confirms that he knows about him, mentioning that Gujium was the first storyteller to receive an audience with the emperor. Moa tells Hog that the Juba clan is well acquainted with Gujium. She offers to arrange a meeting between Hog and Gujium if he is interested. Hog expresses his interest and appreciates the kindness of the Juba clan. How's his confusion about Moa's behavior? Either way, both Yoon and Hog prepare to spar. Hog informs Yoon that he uses a staff in his martial arts, called the dog-beating technique, which can only be learned by a sect leader or successor. Hog then asks Yoon about the martial arts of the famous Dragon Knight. Yoon takes time to think about what name he should give to his martial art. He remembers thinking about one thing when he was young and fighting with a beggar. Yoon responds to Hog by saying that the martial arts he uses are called boxing techniques. He explains that, as the name suggests, combat primarily uses the fist. It is known to be fast and powerful. He adds that this martial art has been developed for a long time in another country, and its effectiveness depends on how a person interprets it. He reveals that the move he uses was actually created by himself. Hog comments that it is a simple name, but such a martial art may be even scarier than it seems. He confirms that he is ready and asks Yoon if he is ready too. Yoon assures him that he is ready too. Mua suggests that, as a member of the Juba clan, she will witness their quarrel. She explains that the winner will be determined when one of them gives up or faints. She emphasizes that any actions intended to cause serious harm are not tolerated and attacks that could endanger the life of another person should be avoided. She suggests they start sparring. Hog takes a certain stance and Yoon tries to attack him. Yoon thinks to himself that he will finally meet one of the top 100 martial artists in the world, Murim. He hadn't been this excited for a long time. Hog strikes with his staff and Yoon successfully defends against it. Mua notes that the sparring is going even better than she expected. Yoon launches an attack. Hog blocks it and then Hog responds with an attack of his own which Yoon blocks in return. Hog jumps down to attack Yoon from above, but Yoon skillfully dodges the attack. Hog tries to hit Yoon, but he manages to dodge again. Hog jumps up and tries to strike from above with his staff, but Yoon dodges and Hog's staff sticks into the ground, and Hog continues his series of strikes. Leaning on the staff, he strikes with his foot. In response, Yoon throws a kick towards Hog, but Hog quickly does a backflip to protect himself. He praises Yoon's defensive skills and challenges him with another move. He aims to hit Yoon. Yoon quickly moves to get behind Hog and assures him that he won't be an easy target. Hog wonders how Yoon managed to move so quickly. Yoon stabs Hog. Hog responds with a technique called Phoenix Flight, and Yoon uses his box. Hog's uppercut technique. Hog is thrown back, but manages to hold onto his staff to avoid falling. He then uses his staff to kick Yoon. The blow sends Yoon flying into the air. Hog uses his dragon tail slash technique. This led to a powerful explosion. Hua was left speechless by the intense display of skills lying on the ground. Yoon realizes that Hog's staff has a long range, giving him a great advantage. However, if Yoon is able to close the distance between them, Hog may not be able to use his full power. Hog wonders if Yoon's boxing technique is capable of all this. He then asks if Yoon wants to continue the fight. Yoon answers firmly, saying that he just finished warming up. Moa notes that although Yoon claims to be stretching, he is clearly tired. Although Yoon may have more internal energy than Dame Hog, the difference in experience makes a big difference, making it seem like Yoon is losing the battle. Undeterred, Hog invites Yoon to continue. Yoon rushes at Hog with all his might to close the distance as much as possible. Hog comments that Yoon's movements are quite simple. He attacks Yoon with his staff, but Yoon senses that this is a trick and Hog is aiming somewhere. Having guessed it in time, Yoon manages to block Hog's attack. This surprises Hog, who tries to attack again, this time without fainting, so Yoon manages to dodge the attack and getting closer to Hog's strikes. Hog flies away from the kick, but once in the air, Hog gracefully spins in the air and lands back on the ground. He expresses his surprise, noting that Yoon quickly adapted to his feints. Just a minute ago, Yoon seemed confused, but he came to his senses and prepared for a new attack. Hog congratulated Yoon for a great fight. He said that his blood was boiling and he would do everything in his power. Yoon admits that he has no experience fighting Murim yet. He believes that while winning is important, personal growth is even more important. Yoon decides to continue the close combat and wait for the right moment to use his boxing. Hog launches an attack on Yoon using his Heavenly Flower Staff technique and the surrounding storm. Although Yoon tries to dodge, he ends up receiving a series of blows to his body and chest. Yoon lets out a scream. Mentally, he realizes that this is the fight he was looking for in his previous life. This battle awakens his forgotten warrior instincts for Yoon. This is not just pleasure. He feels a rush of adrenaline. With determination, Yoon looks at Hog and declares that he has caught him. He launches an attack on Hog. However, Hog believes that Yoon is being reckless. Even though Yoon has a lot of internal energy, he is still inexperienced in combat. Yoon continues to attack Hog, but Hog manages to dodge all of Yoon's attacks. Yoon then uses his backhand kickboxing technique to try and hit Hog. Energy exists. Everyone has it, but it's usually very weak, so most people don't even know it exists. However, the stronger a martial artist is, the stronger and more noticeable his own energy becomes. And the experienced a person is, The better he can sense the energy of others. Yoon White ended up unintentionally putting all his energy into a right hook during the fight. This turned an ordinary feint into a perfect one. Because of this, Hog had to sit on the ground. He asks Yoon what trick he used. Hog admits that he saw Yoon's next move, but couldn't react fast enough. Yoon wonders if Hog's delayed reaction was due to Yoon focusing his energy on his right hand. Yoon tells Hog that it looks like their battle is over. However, Hog mocks Yoon, saying that Yoon must be joking. He calls himself Damn Hog from the beggar sect, and claims that he will not give up so easily. However, he then falls to the ground. Concerned, Yoon quickly approaches Hog, thinking that he might have been shot, possibly in the jaw. Yoon realizes that even if someone has internal energy, their brain can still be shaken when they are hit on the chin. Muay intervenes and tells Yoon that he has already won and should stop. However, Yoon wanted to help Hog. Hog manages to get up with Muay's help. The idea of using energy to create a convincing feint, a kind of misdirection, is amazing. As Muay helps Hog leave, he asks Yoon how he could be so cruel to an old man like him. Hog notes that young people these days do not respect their elders. Yoon responds by asking if they sparred to improve themselves, and suggests that Hog hasn't given his all yet. Hog questions Yoon about how he didn't try his best either, right? He mentions that despite his appearance, he is actually an elder of the beggar sect and has access to a lot of information. But none of the information about Yoon was accurate. Hog feels like he needs to talk to the person who collected this information and maybe give him a good scolding. Hog is puzzled by the incorrect details such as dance-like movements and martial arts based on kicking. He can't understand how all this information can be so wrong. Yoon clears his throat and comments that it was a good fight anyway. Hog reminds Yoon of the promise they made. Yoon decides it's time to say goodbye now that the sparring is over and bids farewell to Lady Muay. Muay is upset that Yoon is ignoring her. She tells Hog that she is going to contact Sir Gujium and asks Hog if there are any stories he would like to hear. Hog replies in the affirmative, saying that he would like to hear quite a few stories. Muay asks if everything is okay. Yoon notices that Muay is very persistent. In anger, he yells at her, asking why she continues to behave this way. Muay asks him what he means. Hog intervenes, asking about their destination. Yoon replies that he is heading to Manhua province. Muay mentions that she has business in Hefei, which is part of Manhua province. Hog realizes that they are both heading in the same direction. Muay invites Hog to join them if he has no other plans. Hog asks if the elderly man can travel with them. Muay responds positively, saying that they will welcome him. She then turns to Yoon for confirmation, who gets extremely annoyed, wondering how someone could be so shameless. So they travel to Manhua province together. Since there are more people in the group, Yoon worries that he might have to slow down to fit in with everyone since they were all martial artists. They used Qinggong. The skill allowed them to travel quickly and comfortably, so they did not have to sleep in the open. Finally, they arrived in Hefei, in Manhua province. Yoon notices that Hefei is bustling with people. Muay explains that this is most likely because the Nandong clan and the Sword Emperor are located here. This place has a well-developed information network and a strong economy. The Nandong clan in Hefei occupies a prominent position among the 5 great clans of the Central Plains and is considered the core of the Orthodox faction. They have given birth to many talented people and have maintained their prosperity for many years due to their history and traditions. In addition, one of the top 10 martial artists in the Central Plains, known as one of the 10 Supreme, comes from the Nandong clan. Nandong Jishan, also known as the Sword Emperor, was the former head of the clan, and his reputation alone speaks volumes about the clan's capabilities. Muay mentions that many martial artists in the area came here to apply for the role of warrior guard. Young asks about the guard warriors. Muay is surprised and asks what he means. She wonders if Young knows about this. Hog intervenes, teasing Young that he is completely out of touch with the world. He explains that the Nandong clan has been recruiting guard warriors for the past few years. Hog thought that was why Young came here. Young explains that he was just visiting. Hog mentions that he needs to leave and visit the local branch of the beggar sect. Miguel suggests we leave it at that. Hog agrees and expresses some sadness over the breakup. He remembers the story Young told them during their trip to Hefei and asks Young about it. Young reveals that it was Hong Gildong's biography. Hog finds the story about the nightly thief quite interesting and asks Young to share more. When they meet next time, as they say goodbye to Hog, Muay also prepares to leave. Yong says goodbye to her as Muay leaves. She thinks about how Hogue only asked for a story in exchange for a fight. She hoped that Yong would share the secrets of his unique techniques, but she's not too disappointed because she found him interesting. She hopes to meet Yong again. Yong is in the courtyard of the Nandong clan's house. Yong looks around at everyone present and thinks, wow, there are so many people here. It looks like a huge crowd of people. Yong can't believe they're all standing there in line. Yong decides to join the line too after waiting for 4 long hours. Yong finally reached the table. The person at the table asks the next person to come forward quickly. He tells Yong to hurry up because there are a lot of people waiting behind him. The man at the table starts asking Yong questions. He wants to know his name, where he is from, what level of martial arts he practices, and what his main weapon is. Yong answers by giving his name Yong White and adds that he is from Golden Shangshi Tiger Wall. As for his martial arts level, before Yong can finish, the man interrupts him and says Golden Tiger Wall. Yong confirms and explains that his father is the leader of the Golden Tiger Wall. He also mentions that his first sister married into the Nandong clan, so he has some connections here. The man says to Yong, if he is definitely the youngest son of the Golden Tiger Wall, then why was he standing in that line? Yong is confused and doesn't understand. The man explains that if Yong has connections with the Nandong clan or has an invitation, he could simply check himself at the side gate and go inside. The man asks Yong, didn't he know that? The man tells Yong that this line is actually for people who want to become guard warriors. Yong is disappointed in himself for waiting so long. The men standing behind Yong in line get angry and ask him what he is doing. They tell him to leave if he is done. They also ask if he sees people waiting behind him. Inside the Nandong clan residence, Nandong clan elder Nandong Ho and Sword Emperor Nandong Jushin are having a conversation. Jushin tells Ho that he called him here because he is thinking of making Yong the young heir in a few years. Ho tells Jushin that he had the same thought. Jushin says that it looks like Hwan noticed what they were thinking and asks if he is upset about it. Ho says he hasn't seen any unhappiness from Hwan yet. Hwan always wanted to live happily with his family. Jushin comments that it is not surprising and notes that it has been a long time since they got married, but he has heard that they are still very happy together. Ho is glad that his daughter-in-law is a nice person who doesn't cause any trouble. Their happy marriage even causes envy among others. Jushin praises Myong for marrying such a wonderful wife. He then remembers hearing that someone from her family was coming to see him. Ho confirms this and says that the younger brother from her family just arrived. Ho explains that he is not yet very familiar with how the world works. That's why he queued up to become a guard warrior. Jushin offers to teach him a little personally since he had a hard day. Ho is surprised and asks Jushin if he is serious. Jushin explains that he heard that the young man is a talented martial artist. All the rumors surrounding him suggest that he must be hiding a lot of skills. Ho thinks to himself that Jushin's interest in martial arts is always strong. Jushin adds that it looks like he will have the opportunity to stretch his muscles for the first time in a long time. Ho agrees to arrange a meeting between Jushin and the young man. Jushin thanks Ho and praises him for being a good son who knows what to do. Later, Jan is in the courtyard when his sister Jan Dua approaches him. She greets him, saying it's been a while since they've seen each other, and asks how he's doing. Young replies that he is fine. Yua asks Young if the journey here was difficult, and wonders if he got into any trouble. Young responds playfully, asking her to relax and saying that she talks like he's always causing trouble. Yua demands that he be honest, and asks how much trouble he actually got into on his journey. Young thinks to himself that his sister is nagging like the eldest child in the family. Nangong Hwan, Young's brother-in-law, arrives and asks if everything is okay. He mentions that it has been a long time since they last saw each other. Young agrees, and asks about Hwan's well-being. Hwan replies that he is great, and says that all his illnesses have disappeared because he is with his wife. Young laughs and says he's glad to hear that. Hwan then asks if Jan has any plans. Young replies that he doesn't really have any plans, and was just about to take a break, so he's open to anything. Hwan asks if that's true. Young wonders what's going on. Hwan says he hopes Young won't be too surprised by what he's about to say. He reveals that Hwan's grandfather wants to meet him. Young is surprised and asks Grandpa Hwan if this means /you. Hwan confirms this and tells Jan that yes, this means the Sword Emperor is considering giving him some personal lessons. Young imagines the Sword Emperor teaching him and is delighted. Yuhua asks Hwan if he's serious, and Hwan says yes. He adds that the Sword Emperor has not yet made a final decision. He will make a decision after a personal meeting with January. Jan happily agrees to meet the Sword Emperor. It's not every day that you get a chance like this. Huan advises Jan to rest today, and once he recovers from the journey, to inform Huan when the right time is to meet the Sword Emperor. Young asks to make an appointment for tomorrow. Huan asks if a day of rest is enough since Jan must be tired from the long trip. Jan says that's not true, but he can't keep the Sword Emperor waiting too long because the Sword Emperor is interested in training him. Jan finds himself deep in the forest and vigorously training. With a powerful blow, he breaks the tree. Looking up, he notices that the sun has already risen. The reason he came here so early is because he couldn't sleep last night. The news that the Sword Emperor personally trained him filled him with excitement throughout his entire journey in martial arts. Jan understands that he has not encountered many opponents who are incredibly strong. The exception is Elder Qi of the MANHUA sect. His thoughts turn to Kong Yunhua. He remembers hearing about Yunhua, who was nicknamed MANHUA's first bloom, and became one of the 5 dragons and 3 phoenixes at a surprisingly young age. Yang wonders if he is on the right path. Despite his progress, Yang knows that he is still far from the best. This is why the opportunity to meet the Sword Emperor is so important to him. He doesn't want this chance to be just about receiving instructions. He hopes to make the most of it. Yang needs to think through some plans. In the morning, Yan's younger sister, Yuhua, is worried because she can't find Yen. Huang tries to comfort her, telling her not to worry too much. The people around them are talking about Yen. They mention that Yen is the son of Golden Tigerwall, so how could he make the Sword Emperor wait like that? Yang finally arrives and apologizes for being late. Yuhua asks him why he is so late, and notes that everyone was waiting for him. Yang explains that he was caught up in his thoughts. Yuhua is upset and asks him not to waste time thinking. She urges him to apologize quickly and not create any problems. Yen agrees and asks her to stop nagging. Feeling the pressure around him, he wonders why it is so strong. He looks at the Sword Emperor and realizes that the Emperor didn't even use his power. Yang feels like he could lose consciousness at any moment. The people around scold Yen, asking how he could keep the Sword Emperor waiting. They urge him to go and show their respects immediately. Yang wonders if these people sense a powerful energy around them. He then realizes that the Sword Emperor is testing him. In this case, Yang should react accordingly. With great respect, Yang greets the Sword Emperor. He mentions that he has just started his journey in the martial arts world, and has heard about the great reputation of the Sword Emperor. Yen pays tribute to the Sword Emperor. The Sword Emperor nods and says that is not a bad answer. Yang notices that the intense pressure has disappeared. The Sword Emperor explains that meeting someone for the first time is the best opportunity to gauge their character. He reassures Yang not to get upset, as this is standard procedure for any student. The Emperor wants to teach. Yen tells the Sword Emperor that he wants to make a strong impression. He also apologizes for showing an immature side to the Sword Emperor. The Sword Emperor finds Yang interesting. Nangongwa thinks that the Sword Emperor likes Yang, and what the Sword Emperor says seems sincere. Yang expresses his gratitude. Nangongwa thinks about how Yen was able to resist the Sword Emperor's energy without using any of his profound strength. He believes that Yen may have already earned the opportunity to train under the Sword of the Emperor. The Sword Emperor then informs Yang that he has conducted a thorough investigation into Yang. However, he found it difficult to believe the information he discovered. The report mentioned martial arts resembling dance and indicated that Yen used both. Yang replies that he hears that a lot. The Sword Emperor explains that due to the inconsistency of information, it will be difficult to train Yen. So, after some thought, the Sword Emperor decided that a real fight would be better than just talking. He asks Yen to start sparring immediately. The Sword Emperor adds that after sparring, he will give Yen advice. Yen agrees and thinks that so far everything is going according to plan. Yen turns to the Sword Emperor and asks if he has anything to say. The Sword Emperor asks what is on his mind. Yen expresses his heartfelt gratitude for the Sword Emperor's teachings and mentions that to show his gratitude, he wants to leave a lasting impression on him during their fight. The Sword Emperor asks Yang what he is trying to suggest. Yen explains that he would like to ask the Sword Emperor to give him a head start and allow him 3 strikes first. He speculates that if any of his attacks can affect the Sword Emperor, will the Sword Emperor be able to offer him a reward? The Sword Emperor is taken aback and asks Yang if he is serious. Yen explains that he is here to learn, but he believes that a successful attack on the Sword Emperor will leave the most lasting impression. As a result, people around him begin to call Yang an impudent brat. They are shocked that Yen would show such disrespect for the Sword Emperor and think he has no manners at all. Yen reflects on his words and realizes that they may have been disrespectful. However, he has heard that the Sword Emperor is a martial artist who is simply seeking to expand his knowledge of martial arts. Yang's sincere words could move the Sword Emperor. After some careful consideration, the Sword Emperor responds to Yang's request, asking him to give his best. The Sword Emperor reveals that as he grew older, he believed that there would be no one who could truly challenge him. Yen expresses his gratitude for this opportunity, and the Sword Emperor decides to give Yen an even bigger head start because he admires Yen's energetic attitude. He mentions that he won't use his right leg or left arm, essentially inviting Yen to attack freely. Yang strongly agrees and replies, "Yes, sir." The Sword Emperor, expressing his gratitude to Yang's spirit, asks what the reward is. Yang would like to see one of his attacks succeed. Yang decides to keep his request a secret for now. No matter how skilled the Sword Emperor is, Yang White is proud to be a champion. Because of this, he doesn't want it to end with just learning lessons. He has one big goal, to make a strong impression on the Sword Emperor. However, Yen feels helpless because the Sword Emperor is incredibly powerful. Using pure force won't work against him. Yang believes his only advantage is knowledge. People in the Central Plains are not familiar with his martial arts style. Yang thinks he can make progress using this advantage, but it seems impossible. The Sword Emperor is like an insurmountable mountain. The gap between a person who is at the highest peak level and not fully developed, and a martial artist at the evolutionary level, is as vast as the difference between heaven and earth. Feeling disappointed, Yen considers giving up and just accepting the Sword Emperor's offer. No matter how much Yen thinks, he feels like just a tiny ant in the sword's palm. While Yen is thinking about this, the ant bites Yen and he says, "Oh." Yen asks the ant if he is laughing at him. Yen begins to think that if he is like this ant, and the Sword Emperor is like him, then perhaps he will be able to attack the Sword Emperor, the same way the ant attacked him. But Yen quickly rejects this idea, thinking that the Sword Emperor will not let down his guard. Instead, Yen decides that he needs to find a way to get the Sword Emperor to let his guard down. On the ground, the Sword Emperor asks Yen why he is hesitant to attack. Even though he had so many advantages when Yen encounters the Sword Emperor up close, he realizes that the Sword Emperor is even more powerful than he originally thought. Yen doesn't see any weak points. The Sword Emperor looks like a mountain. Yen muses that if the sparring had started without the Sword Emperor providing him with those first 3 attacks, it would have been terrible. However, the Sword Emperor agreed to let Yen strike first 3 times. This had been the crux of Yen's plan all along, and now he just had to do it. The Sword Emperor notices that Yen has lowered the hand protecting his face. Yen slowly approaches the Sword Emperor. Huan is puzzled, realizing that Yen has the option to attack 3 times first, but he thinks it's quite rude of Yen to walk so slowly towards the Sword Emperor and without any fancy footwork. Yuhua advises Huan to trust Yen and keep an eye on the situation. She explains that Yen may be mischievous, but he wouldn't do something like that without a reason. The Sword Emperor tells Yen that he allowed him to make these 3 initial attacks because he wants Yen to give his all. The Sword Emperor wonders if Yen is ignoring the kindness he has shown. Yen responds by noting that he hasn't even used his first attack yet. Yen wants to use a kickboxing technique called the low kick. The Sword Emperor realizes that Yen deliberately came so close to him to prevent the Sword Emperor from attacking him. This strategy helps Yen create favorable distance since he is not using any weapons. Yen assures the Sword Emperor that he is far from finished and launches a new attack. Yen then uses Muay Thai and Pham clinch techniques and attacks the Sword Emperor. Yen believes that the Sword Emperor cannot use his right leg and left arm, so he is forced to use his sword to block Yen's low kick from below. Even if he tried to use his sword to block an attack from above, there shouldn't be enough room for the sword to fit in such a close combat situation. Yen thinks he has won. However, the Sword Emperor surprises him by sending him flying with a flick of his hand. Yen crashes into the wall. Yen coughs up blood from his mouth and worries if he has internal injuries. It hurts more than external injuries. He is confused about what just happened. He thought his plans were perfect. Yen thought that his knee strike was about to hit the Sword Emperor. When the Sword Emperor comes closer and asks if he is okay, Yen reassures him that he is fine. He is amazed that he was sent flying with just one blow right after a confident speech. Yen apologizes to the Sword Emperor and admits defeat, but to his surprise, the Sword Emperor says that it is not. So, Yen is shocked and wonders how he could not lose. He asks the Sword Emperor what he means. The Sword Emperor explains that he felt threatened and instinctively used his left hand. He admits that in every situation he is the first to break the rules, so it's a win for Yen. Yen becomes happy and asks. The Sword Emperor confirms this by saying that being a martial artist is about proving yourself. He adds that regardless of whether Yen used tricks or not, the fact that he could handle them shows that he, the Sword Emperor, needs to be stronger. The Sword Emperor expresses his gratitude to Yen and Yen thanks him in return. Yang then passes out 2 days later. Yang wakes up in bed, his body numb. He wonders how long he slept. He talks to Yang and asks if he's okay. Yang asks if she's worried about him and tells her not to worry because he's doing much better after sleeping for so long. Yu says she feels relieved. However, Yang notices that something is wrong. Yu pats Yang firmly on the back and scolds him, asking how he could do such a thing. She is furious that he even tried to knee the Sword Emperor. The Sword Emperor arrives and remarks that they are very loving siblings. He asks about your health. Yen intervenes, saying that he is fine and thanks the Sword Emperor for the treatment. But the Sword Emperor clarifies that he was asking about Yang's sister, not about him. The Sword Emperor tells Yen that after he lost consciousness, he was very worried and took care of him day and night. Yang asks his sister if she's really that worried, expressing that he's touched. Yu reminds Yen that he should be grateful to her. The Sword Emperor tells Yen that he has now rested enough to begin sparring again. Yang is surprised and asks, "What?" The Sword Emperor asks if Yen is injured somewhere else. Yang assures him that this is not the case. Yu apologizes and mentions that Yang just woke up. Yun tells the Sword Emperor that he is ready to spar. He reassures his sister not to worry and promises not to get hurt again. The Sword Emperor asks Yang to come out quickly. Yang agrees and thinks he doesn't know why, but the Sword Emperor seems happy. They look at each other to start sparring. Yang thanks the Sword Emperor and asks how they should proceed this time. The Sword Emperor says that Yen can attack him as much as he wants. He clarifies that he will not use an energy blast like last time. Yang believes that since the last sparring was more of a bet than a lesson, this time the Sword Emperor will teach him properly. In this case, Yang is ready to show the Sword Emperor what he is capable of. He launches an attack on the Sword Emperor, but the Sword Emperor blocks it with his sword. Yen tries to slash with his sword and then tries to kick, but the Sword Emperor blocks both moves. The Sword Emperor notes that Yen's movements are agile and fast. Yang realizes that his strikes are ineffective, so he decides to use a wrestling technique called a tackle and tries to grab the Emperor with all his strength. However, the Sword Emperor does not budge even though Yen uses all his strength. Yen realizes that the Sword Emperor is not just heavy or strong, it feels like he's trying to bump into a huge mountain eventually. Yang leans to the ground. The Sword Emperor notes that this is something new. The Sword Emperor says that he now understands why many people find Yang's martial arts strange. He may seem simple at first glance, but he is very practical in battles and has a systematic way of moving. Yen thanks the Sword Emperor. However, the Sword Emperor notes that Yen seems to be too focused on his unconventional fighting. He felt that during their recent sparring session, Yen had clearly put a lot of research and training into these moves to effectively destroy his opponents. Most martial artists will not be able to handle this, but with martial artists who are at the highest peak level or above, it will not work. The Sword Emperor then asks Yang if he is willing to give up these techniques in order to surpass such formidable opponents. Yang wonders if he needs to give up these techniques to become a better person. Yen tells the Sword Emperor that he is not quite sure yet. The Sword Emperor admits that what he said might surprise some, but he advises Yen to remember this. The moment Yen gives up his strong attachment to martial arts, he will be able to overcome the highest level he is currently at. Yen asks the Sword Emperor if he knew this already. The Sword Emperor confidently replies that at his level one can simply know. Yua then asks what he means by highest level. The Sword Emperor explains that this means that Yua's younger brother, Yen, has reached a level he should not have been able to achieve at his age. With these words, the Sword Emperor leaves, calling Yang a rail pearl. Yua asks Yen why he hid something so important from her. Yang begins to explain what he wanted to tell her, but hesitates. Yang sincerely apologizes. As night falls, Yen lies down, feeling incredibly tired. His sister had been nagging him all day, and he didn't expect her disappointment. He reflects on the Sword Emperor's previous question about whether he is willing to give up his current techniques in order to surpass certain opponents. He realizes that at some point in his martial arts journey, he may have to give up his usual forms in order to move to a level where there is no movement. If Yen were to give up his current techniques, he wonders if he could reach higher levels. With a sigh, Yang admits that he doesn't know for sure. However, he understands the general direction he needs to go in. In the meantime, he decides to spend some time thinking about how he can get there. A few days ago, a significant incident occurred within the Nangong clan. Despite numerous obstacles, the Sword Emperor lost in a sparring match against another person. This person was the elder's daughter-in-law's younger brother, recognized as a promising martial artist. However, within the Nangong clan, Heavenly Squad Captain Nangong Ko refuses to recognize Yang's martial arts. He believes that Yang's fighting style is nothing more than street fighting and wonders if it can be considered a martial art. That's why Ko wanted to show Yen what real martial art looks like. But surprisingly, Yang came to find him on his own. Nangong Ko tells Yang that he enjoyed watching Yang spar with the Sword Emperor last time. Yang thanks him for the pleasure. Ko mentions that Yang's martial arts are quite unique and asks where he learned them. Yang explains that he learned it from a master he met by chance when he was young. Ko expresses his curiosity about this mysterious master. Meanwhile, Nangong Ko angrily slams his cup on the table and wonders how Yang's style can be considered a martial art. Ko tries to calm Ko down by telling him that he drank too much, so he shouldn't talk. However, Ko insists that Ko must have also seen that the whole sparring process was very difficult. Ko ponders how such an unusual martial art could even exist in the world. He admits that he should not express this opinion, but believes that the Sword Emperor was too lenient towards Yang during their sparring. Chi, trying to keep the situation calm, suggests that Ko Lu stopped making such comments. Yang agrees with Ko's assessment and openly admits that he recognized shortcomings in his martial arts skills. He believes that if he fought without resorting to any devious tactics, he would not have landed a single attack on the Sword Emperor. Yang then sincerely asks for a favor. He's aware of their reputation as exceptional martial artists, both ranking among the top 100 in Murim. Yang politely asks if they can generously help him identify and solve the problem. Ko asks Yang for clarification, asking if he offers sparring. Ko, accepting the challenge, admits that he may have been too critical of Yen earlier and agrees to help. Ko tells Yen that if Yen knows about his weaknesses and wants to get better, then there is no reason why Ko shouldn't help him. Chi intervenes, expressing his desire to help Yen train and admitting that he was actually curious to see more of Yen's martial arts. However, they both later deeply regret their decision. 2 months later, the Sword Emperor asks Yang if he is leaving now. Yang confirms this and expresses gratitude for all the kindness he received. The Sword Emperor humbly replies that it was Yen who has gone through a lot, and thanks to him, the Sword Emperor's warriors have greatly improved their skills. Yen expresses his joy at gaining such a valuable experience and hopes to meet the Sword Emperor again someday. The Sword Emperor bids farewell to Yen, and Yen turns to his sister and brother-in-law, wishing them good health. Before leaving, they say goodbye to Yang, and he starts to leave. The Sword Emperor breathes a sigh of relief and looks at his followers celebrating Yan's departure. They feel that their days of humiliation are finally over and happiness is beginning. One person notes that they were beaten every day by a child, but they survived. Another person adds that what is most disturbing is that Yen genuinely wanted to spar with them. Someone else agrees, saying that Yen is just obsessed with fighting. He doesn't care about winning or losing. It seemed wrong to reject Yen as a martial artist, so they accepted his request not to look like they were afraid of him. One person noted that it wasn't just once or twice. Yen continued to look for them whenever he had time. Another man intervenes, saying that a regular fight would be fine, but this was more than that, like a street fight. The Sword Emperor reflects on how everyone seemed to have a hard time dealing with Yen. Someone looks at the Sword Emperor and thinks that things could have been easier if he had intervened. However, the Sword Emperor replies that he is getting old, and it is not as easy for him as it was before. Huan asks Yuhua if she's okay. Yuhua admits that it might be difficult for her to communicate with everyone at the moment. However, she adds that seeing Yan's dedication and passion for martial arts still makes her proud to be his sister. The fire is raging all around. The man is on his knees and desperately asks for his life. But the heartless man, armed with a weapon, ignores his pleas and takes his own life. This cruel man finds satisfaction in watching people beg for mercy after the cruel act. He goes to his leader Hua Jusu and informs him that their mission on this side is complete. Jusu calmly notes that the only person left in the village is a scared child with decisive steps. Jusu approaches the trembling child. Jusu tells the child that he will reunite him with his family in the afterlife, since he will be all alone. But suddenly a monk appears. He bravely intervenes. Blocking Jusu's deadly blade, the monk checks on the frightened child, assuring him that he is now safe. Jusu can't help but wonder how the monk managed to get so close without noticing him. Jusu sees that the monk is so relaxed, but he can stop Jusu's sword without even looking. Jusu realizes that the monk is much stronger than him. Jusu's men scold the monk, asking if he is crazy for daring to stop their leader. They want Jusu to teach the monk a lesson. Jusu tells his people to shut up. The monk asks the child if there is anyone alive, and the child becomes very sad. The monk understands. The monk then asks the child if he has anywhere else to go, and if he would like to go with the monk. The child says yes. The monk says okay, then let's go together. The monk throws away his hat and tells the child that they will discuss the details after he defeats them all. The 4 seasons are divided into spring, summer, autumn and winter. Yonghui left the Nangong clan 3 seasons ago. Now it is located on Songshan Mountain in Hunan province, where the famous Shaolin temple is located. Inside the temple, the monks practice their skills. One Ho arrives and asks the abbot if he called him. The abbot invites him in and asks how Ho is doing. Ho thanks the abbot and says that thanks to him everything was fine. The abbot then says that he called Ho here because he wants to tell him something important. Ho asks what it is. The abbot mentions a pugnacious wanderer and asks if Ho knows about this man. Ho clarifies if he means an eccentric man who wanders around trying to defeat the top 100 martial artists in the martial arts world and is looking for his next opponent. Ho adds that these rumors turned out to be false. Moreover, there are rumors that this person defeated someone ranked 53rd, known as the floating lightsaber, named Hyuk Liang. Ho thinks that such an experienced person can't suddenly appear out of nowhere, right? The abbot says that everyone believes this since there are no official records or testimonies of those who fought him. Ho asks if the abbot suggests that the rumors about a wandering sparring fanatic might be true. The abbot shows Ho the letter and asks him to take a look. Ho looks at the letter and asks if it is real. The abbot points to the seal on the letter, which clearly belongs to the imperial family. The abbot explains that the existence of a pugnacious wanderer is not the main thing. What is surprising is that this person is the same age as Ho. Ho says it doesn't make sense. If it's true, wouldn't this person be the strongest among the aspiring martial artists in the orthodox faction? The abbot asks Ho why he thinks this is pointless. He explains that the is a huge place with many talented people. This person will visit the Shaolin temple tomorrow. As stated in the letter, the person probably just wants to know some tips. He mentioned his desire to stay in the Shaolin temple and spar with various martial artists. The abbot asks Ho to look after him. Ho agrees and says he understands. The guard yawns at the Shaolin temple. The senior guard asks why he yawns so widely. The junior guard explains that the warm sunlight made him yawn without even realizing it. The senior guard tells him to stay focused and alert while on duty. The junior guard tells the senior not to worry too much, because not many martial artists have visited them recently. He wonders what could go wrong. The older guard scolds the younger one, warning him that such an attitude could lead to trouble. He asks the junior guard if he would like to undergo special training from the master. Like before, the junior guard complains that the senior guard is too harsh, but then the junior guard notices someone approaching, and it turns out to be Yong. The senior guard notes that Yong has incredible inner strength. He orders Yong to stop and asks why he came to the Shaolin temple. Yong, noticing the distinctive clothing and shaved heads of the guards, realizes that he is in Shaolin. He tells them that he is here to meet with the abbot. The guard asks where Yong is from. Yong shows them a plaque that says Golden Tiger Wall, and says that he is Yong White from the Golden Tiger Wall in Shaanxi. The guard becomes suspicious and thinks they can't just let Yong in without further investigation. The guard tells Yong that they are not expecting anyone from the Golden Tiger Wall today, and asks why he is looking for the abbot. He says they can't let Yong in without knowing why. Yong gets upset and asks if the guard doubts him. He is very tired from his long journey through the mountains, and the guards are having a hard time dealing with him. Suddenly, the guard senses the danger coming from Yong and attacks him with a weapon. Yong manages to block the attack and questions the guard's actions. The guard scolds Yong, calling him shameless, and asks how dare he question what the guard is doing. When Yong is radiating danger, he warns Yong not to underestimate the Shaolin Temple. Ignoring Yong's words, the guard attacks him using the 18 Guan Yin technique. However, Yong defeats the guard with just one blow. Yong sighs and wonders why all the Shaolin monks are so stubborn and never listen to reason. Other monks come and want to know what is happening. The junior guard informs them that the attacker Yong has defeated the senior guard, Muo. The monk blows a whistle to warn everyone that an intruder has harmed one of them. He tells them not to let their guard down, because Yong is skilled enough to defeat Muo, who is at the peak of his level. Yong gets upset and yells at them to stop it. He decides hell, just fight them all. But then Wanho comes and yells at everyone to stop fighting. He wants to know what's going on. The junior guard tells Wanho that the man Yong tried to deceive them by claiming that he was the abbot's guest and entered the Shaolin Temple without permission. Yong protests and asks what they mean by villain. The junior guard explains that senior guard Muo is dead because of Yong. However, Muo clarifies that he is not actually dead. Wanho tells Muo to shut up. He tells them that Yong is indeed the abbot's guest. This news surprises the guard. Wanho shows them the letter and says that he is here to deliver a message. So what is all this confusion? Wanho questions them, asking even if they didn't get the message. What do they think is the right thing to do to attack someone without understanding the situation? He also notes that it is even worse if a group of them gangs up on one person. He wonders if they can really call themselves monks of the Shaolin Temple. Yong agrees with Wanho, saying that these are very reasonable words. Meanwhile, the junior guard realizes that he is in trouble. The guards are later severely punished. The one who was punishing them notices that their bodies are shaking from the punishment and decides to add another 15 minutes to the punishment. The guards thank him. The man then approaches Muo and mentions that he heard that Muo is the cause of the problem this time. He asks how Muo can achieve enlightenment if he judges people with prejudice. Yong overhears this and thinks to himself that he really likes the situation. Seonghak arrives and asks Yong if he got enough rest. Yong replies that yes, he had a good rest thanks to Seonghak. Seonghak introduces himself as Mu Seonghak, the head of the Shaolin Temple's guest hall. He admits that he made a big mistake with Yong and apologizes again. Yong reassures Seonghak, saying that everything is fine and that he understands Seonghak's situation. He knows that the monks of the Shaolin Temple are full of energy. Seonghak expresses his gratitude to Yong for her understanding. He thinks to himself how amazing it is that Yong is only 20 years old. Yong is the famous pugnacious wanderer. The leader was right. Seonghak asks if he heard correctly that Yong wants to meet their abbot. Yong confirms this and praises the Shaolin Temple for its reputation as a martial arts center. He explains that he just wants to spar and learn from these masters. Seonghak understands and admits that Yong is definitely suitable for sparring. However, he is concerned that the idea may not go down well with the temple's senior members. Yong realizes that Seonghak is right. Compared to someone who has nothing to lose, the temple has something to lose. That's why Yong always suggested that sparring should be informal. Seonghak asks Yong what he plans to do. Yong wonders if there is any way around this. Seonghak suggests that it is not necessary to involve senior members. He suggests that Yong could teach 3rd or 4th grade students and have leadership spar with them. Seonghak says that sometimes you can learn a lot by teaching others. Yong asks if they're okay with him teaching considering the trouble he's caused. He thinks they are suffering because of him. Seonghak asks Yong not to say this. He explains that this is a misunderstanding due to their lack of experience. Yong agrees and suggests following this plan. Yong then asks who in the Shaolin Temple does the most training. Later they go outside and Yong catches a falling autumn leaf. Seonghak notices Yong's interest in autumn leaves. Yong agrees, saying that the autumn leaves at the Shaolin Temple are beautiful. Seonghak admits that it might be a little offensive, but at first he thought that Yong, with his nickname Pugnacious Wanderer, was only interested in fighting. However, after meeting Yong, Seonghak came to the conclusion that the nickname did not accurately describe Yong. Instead, he believes that a term like autumn leaves would be more appropriate for Yong's character. Yong finds it funny. As they watch, they notice that Wanho is engrossed in his training. Yong remembers Wanho as the person who helped him with the other monks earlier. Seong-hak continues to tell Yong about Wonho's status in Shaolin. Wonho is considered a source of pride for the temple, and the most likely candidate to become the next abbot. He is popularly known as Little Dragon Wonho. Seong-hak clarifies that if Yuan asked anyone in Shaolin about the most dedicated training enthusiasts, they would undoubtedly mention Little Dragon Wonho. Yong asks how many times Wonho repeats this particular move. Seong-hak explains that Wonho constantly emphasizes the importance of mastering the fundamentals. He uses the analogy that just as a building without a solid foundation will collapse, martial arts without a solid foundation are doomed to fail. Seong-hak adds that Wonho practices this movement in an upright position for 6 hours daily. Yong expresses his belief that such teaching methods are ineffective. Seong-hak asks for clarification and asks Yong to clarify his point. Yong then goes on to explain that he meant what he said. Such teaching methods are ineffective. Seong-hak tries to set the record straight by saying that while it may seem repetitive, a stronger foundation needs to be built. Yong admits that he understands what Seong-hak is talking about, but insists that he still considers him ineffective. Wonho asks Yong if he means that Wonho's efforts are in vain. Yong explains that this is not a waste of effort, but rather a misdirection of it. Wonho seems surprised and asks if he's heading in the wrong direction. He presses Yong, asking if he's serious. Yong explains that he's talking about a real fight. He emphasizes that in real combat, there are many variables to consider, such as weather, location, or number of opponents. From Yong's perspective, it appears that Wonho is neglecting these variables. Yong says Wonho is stubborn and sticks to the safe path. This angers Wonho and he challenges Yong, asking if he can take responsibility for what he just said. Yong responds by saying that actions speak louder than words. He suggests that it would be quicker to demonstrate his point in person by suggesting sparring with Wonho. They meet each other on the battlefield, ready to take on the challenge. Meanwhile, Seong-hak regrets introducing Yuan to Wonho. Suddenly, the abbot appears and asks if this is a pugnacious wanderer. He asks if Wonho represents the Shaolin temple in sparring. Seong-hak confirms this and explains that Yong was looking for the best student at the temple, so he recommended Wonho to the Little Dragon. However, Seong-hak admits he is a little concerned that he may have made poor judgment. Seong-hak informs the abbot that Yong provoked Wonho by questioning the practicality of Wonho's training methods in actual combat. He expresses concern that this might make Wonho too emotional during sparring. Yong, on the other hand, is reflecting on the situation. He's excited to fight a Shaolin monk, something straight out of a movie. However, he senses that something is wrong with Little Dragon Wonho. Yong notices that Wonho seems distracted at the moment and wonders if he's very nervous. Regardless of the reason, Yong considers it impolite to be inattentive to an opponent. Yong thinks he needs to show Wonho something interesting. Wonho tells Yong that he will demonstrate the essence of all his training. Yong suddenly lies down on the ground, ready to begin. Wonho asks what he is doing. Yong explains that he is taking his stand. Wonho asks if Yong plans to fight on the ground. Yong reminds him that there are many variables in real fighting, and he intends to show Wonho the extreme limits of those variables. The Inoki vs. Ali stand is a term that originated from a fight that took place in June 1976 between boxing's greatest, Muhammad Ali, and Asia's greatest fighter, Antonio Inoki. Martial arts fans were crazy about the match between the two legends, but both fighters were hampered by rules restrictions like no strikes, low blows, and all that. In the end, the match between the two was boring as hell. And Yong White is now reenacting the scene in Murim. Wonho tells Yong Woo to stop acting like a fool and fight hard. Yong insists that he can fight in his current position and encourages Wonho to launch an attack. Seong-hak asks the abbot if Yen is going too far with his jokes, noting that the lazy donkey pose is a great humiliation for a martial artist. The abbot finds Yen's behavior interesting and asks Seong-hak to leave it alone. Wonho agrees to continue in Yen's preferred position and extends his leg to hit Yen. Warning him not to regret it, Yong admits that he was scared and thought he was going to die. Yong notices that the blow seemed very strong and may have been intended to cause him serious harm. He wonders whether the use of Inoki Alice position is an unusual occurrence in Murim. Yong manages to dodge the blow. However, Wonho asks Yong not to treat him like a fool. He realizes that Yong is using this strange position to counter his striking style. But Wanho wants Yong to know that he can use his feet too. Yong is surprised that Wanho seems to act based on his emotions. He thinks that little dragon is still young and impulsive. Yong notes that he was never hit and suggests that Wanho calm down. He notes that Wanho looks quite emotional in response. Wanho jumps into the air, ready to attack Yen with his 18 guanyin kicks. Wanho warns Yong that he cannot escape this attack. Yong, with a sly smile, believes he has a plan to deal with this problem. Yong uses the rising punch to hit Wanho. However, Wanho's kick hits Yong's legs, causing them both to scream in pain. Unfortunately, Wanho's bone is broken and he can't feel anything. He realizes that Yong used the ground to absorb the blow, so only he while in the air took the blow. It becomes clear to Wanho why Yong provoked him. Wanho wonders if this will be his defeat. He looks at the abbot and decides that he cannot afford to lose here. There was no point in him falling now, so he goes on the offensive again. But Yong parries the blow, causing Wanho to fall to the ground, upset and say, "Damn it." Wanho doesn't want to let the abbot down, so he is determined to keep moving forward. However, he eventually loses consciousness. When Wanho wakes up, he finds Yong nearby. He asks how long he was unconscious, and Yong replies that it was less than 15 minutes. Wanho realizes that he most likely lost the match. Yong extends his hand to help him up and praises the match, saying it was great. Wanho accepts Yong's hand and agrees that it was indeed a great marriage. He tells Yong that at first he thought Yong was just provoking him by talking about his training. Wanho, on the other hand, admits that he now understands what Yong meant. He admits he was too narrow-minded. As they walk, Yong stops and tells Wanho that there is a bigger problem with him. Wanho asks what the problem is. Yong wants to know why Wanho trains and what makes him get stronger. Yong shares that based on his observations, he believes Wanho doesn't have the answer yet. He tells Wanho that if his only reason for wanting to become stronger is to gain recognition from someone, he won't be able to reach his full potential. The abbot agrees with Yong's words. He mentions that he knows Wanho respects him a lot and follows him. It seems that Wanho trains so hard to impress the abbot, perhaps because he wants to make the abbot proud of him. The abbot acknowledges that Wanho has already succeeded him at a young age and expresses pride in him. However, the abbot notes that Wanho may be too focused on the abbot's approval. He explains that this is not the main reason he saved Wanho. Wanho responds by saying that the abbot is like a savior and father to him. His eyes fill with tears as he admits that he doesn't believe a weak person like him deserves the nickname Little Dragon. The abbot places a soothing hand on Wanho's head and acknowledges the emotional suffering he has endured. The abbot realizes that he may have put too much pressure on Wanho. Wanho quickly assures the abbot that it is not his fault. However, the abbot assures Wanho that he need not worry. He tells Wanho that he doesn't need to become stronger for the sake of the abbot. Even if Wanho does not succeed the abbot, he will always be the son that the abbot is proud of. Overcome with emotion, Wanho begins to cry and tells the abbot, "Yes, father." Several days passed. Another monk falls to the ground and Young compliments him, saying that they make a great couple. The monk replies that that was a great match. Young suggests that it's time for the next person to get ready, but when he turns around he realizes he has defeated all his opponents. Wanho asks Young if he is done sparring. Young, looking back at his defeated opponents, asks Wanho if he wants to fight him while walking with the help of a stick. Wanho explains that he is still not ready to spar and reminds Young of the time Young broke his leg. Young apologizes, admitting that maybe he went too far last time. Wanho reassures Young, saying that everything is fine, and he believes that his injury was his own fault. Wanho then reveals that he has something to share with Young. He continues to Young about the upcoming event known as the Battle of the Dragon in Phoenix. This event is organized by the Murim Alliance and will take place soon. Wanho explains that the Murim Alliance is currently in good health and enjoying success. This is due to the fact that the Orthodox faction has been in power for many years, making the alliance a powerful force in the world. However, as the world continues, the young martial artists become discontented. They lack opportunities to demonstrate their skills, gain recognition, and distinguish themselves from others. To solve this problem, the Murim Alliance found a solution. Every 2 years they organized official sparring matches, which they called the Dragon in Phoenix Battle. Manhwa told Young that there were only 2 months left before the dragon in Phoenix battle began. To enter, Manhwa tells Young that he just needs to go to the Hunan branch and take part in the preliminary rounds. Manhwa then asks Young, would he consider teaming up with Manhwa and joining the dragon in Phoenix battle together? Young responds by explaining the structure of dragon in Phoenix battle. As far as Young knows, it is divided into 2 generations. The younger generation competes in the first round, and the second round is for participants aged 40 years and older. Young suggests that if they decide to participate, they will end up in the first round, right? Manhwa agrees and admits that he wasn't sure if Young would be interested because Young is already strong enough to take on higher-ranked martial artists in Murim's top 100. Manhwa asks Young if he would like to meet martial artists around Young's age. Young grins and asks if it was that obvious. Manhwa suggests they try anyway. He believes that sometimes it is better to reflect on oneself rather than constantly striving forward. Manhwa admits he was also focused on the race ahead. He asks Young if helped enlighten him on the matter. Most importantly, Manhwa expresses his desire to have another fight with Young. Young smiles and agrees, saying, "Okay, let's have one more match in the final." Thus began a friendship between the god of battles, who is considered the strongest fighter in the world, and the main master of the warrior family, the fire monk. 2 months later, at the Murim Alliance branch in Hunan, Young fights a warrior. The warrior attacks Young while jumping, trying to kick him, but Young blocks the blow, after which he simply pushes his leg away and hits back. Young's opponent falls. The judges declare Young of the Golden Tiger Wall clan to be victorious. Coming out into the street, Young exhaled with relief. Young thinks that he can't keep up with the little dragon Buddha, who will pass the selection before him. Young realized that he would not get along with the little dragon in the final selection. The little dragon Buddha said goodbye to Young and wished him an easy passage through the qualifying round. Large well-known schools do not participate in the selection process but immediately get to the main competitions. Young thought that the world is not fair. A boy approached Young and handed him a letter, calling Young an old man, which caused him great surprise. The boy added that the beautiful lady asked to deliver this letter for the old man. Young again wondered why they called him an old man. Young decided that this was an old friend who watched his previous fight and decided to meet him because she liked Young. After reading the letter, Young realized that he was being invited to a meeting at a restaurant, but it was not clear who. Restaurant Lotus. Young has arrived. Young sat down at the table and waited. A girl in a hood approached him. Young did not recognize her and immediately asked her who she was and why he was here. The girl said that she was from the Murium Alliance, leader of the celestial school Samayon. When So took off her hood, everyone around her froze when they saw such beauty. She explained that he was the winner of the last battle between the dragon and the phoenix and is now the head of the Heavenly Bow Fortress. The unique and mysterious Heavenly Sect is also a sect in which the successor is one person. This is a strange sect that wields the bow and only allows women to become leaders. Samayon is not just the leader of the Heavenly Sect. She is a gifted genius who has reached the very heights of martial arts, and she is not yet 30 years old. She is also the last winner of the battle between the dragon and the phoenix. Young was shocked and said that he didn't know that they were part of the Murium Alliance. Young thought about what they needed from him, so before speaking further, she activated an energy barrier that enveloped both of them. So explained that they needed his help and what she would tell him now should not go beyond the confines of this room. Young is surprised that he is trusted with such important matters, but So says she studied his reputation and how he behaves. Samayon said that she had recently been to the Shaolin Monastery and there they told her that Young could be trusted. So continued the conversation, she said. Every time during the competition different incidents happen and this time it happened too. Seo Mayan believes that there was an unfair selection here in Seo Wu Chong. The current head of the Murium Alliance division in Hanam is in cahoots with several families. He falsified the results of the qualifying competitions. Seo Mayan wants Young to steal these results, but Young says that he is not on such matters. But Seo Mayan says that he knows that Young has already done this before, and it won't be too difficult for him. Young is shocked by the awareness in the Murium Alliance. Young says that this is a big risk for him. Seo hands Young a special ID plaque. Now Young is the official inspector of the alliance. Young says that if you give something, you get something in return. Seo Mayan says that's great and asks Young what he would like in return. Hunan, Murima Alliance Qualifying Tournament. Seo Wu Chong, the head of the Hunan branch of the Murima Alliance, will meet the guest in the schoolyard. He is happy to welcome Seo Mayan and offers her tea and rest in the guest quarters. Seo Mayan refuses and says that she came to watch the qualifying fights and she wants Seo Wu Chong to be with her and show her how the selection process goes. Seo Mayan asks if Wu Chong is okay. They went into the hall. Wu Chong yells at the students to urgently bring the best tea and sweets for the guest at this time. Young is already upstairs near Wu Chang's office. Hour ago, Young asks what their plan is. Seo Mayan says while she distracts the head of the branch, Young will have to sneak into his personal account and pick up the book with fake selection results. Seo Mayan believes that the head will not leave her side because she is the winner of past competitions and for him she has a chance for promotion in the future, so he will try to please her. But Seo Mayan also knows that Wu Chong is very careful. That's why she has a ring. Such allow you to send a signal even over a long distance. She gave the second ring to Young. These rings are paired and connected to each other. He will also most likely need this bracelet. The bracelet will help identify hidden objects. After all, most likely the magic of protection and secrecy has been cast on the book. Seo Mayan convinces Young that he can handle it completely, so hopes that he has a strong fist and will cope in case of surprise. Young is worried that if he fails, he won't be able to leave safely and he's surprised that he'll have to wear a mask again. Young understands that he was chosen for a reason because if he gets caught, they will say that they don't know him and doesn't believe that the inspector's sign will help him. After all, although there is a sign, he cannot represent Murium but only a trusted representative. Young put on his mask and got to work. He couldn't go through the door because it was supervised and closed the choice's obvious window. He easily jumped through the open window and entered the room. Having assessed the situation, he went straight to the office. There was no one around. Everyone went to see Seo Mayan, the best archer in Murium. Opening the office door, Young was shocked by what he saw. The shelves were full of precious vases and jewelry. Not an office but a treasury, thought Young. He of course understood that lending money could bring bribes, but he could not imagine that so much. The bracelet lit up as if making it clear that Young was at the goal and the book was somewhere here, but among so many things, it will not be easy to find it. We have to hurry because there is not much time. At this time, Seo Mayan and Wu Chong watched one of the qualifying fights take place. Wu Chong asks how Seo rates the members and she says they are beautiful. Seo Mayan says that there are many talents and she likes it. Wu Chong tries to flatter her by complimenting Seo. Wu Chong invites Seo Mayan into the office for a cup of tea, but she continues to stall for time and says that she wants to watch a little more. Seo Mayan thinks about how long it will take Young to find the book. Young continues his search, looking through everything and not paying attention to anything. Young thinks that this is a failure of the mission. He does not find the book. He has doubts because the bracelet glows but there is no book. Could this be a trap? A thought occurred to him. What if this is only Seo Mayan's initiative and Alliance doesn't know about it? But then she decides that she would hardly do such a thing. He tries to put himself in Seo Wu Chang's place where he would hide it if he were him. Suddenly it dawned on him, he seemed to understand where she could be. Taking an ordinary book from the shelf and checking what was in it, he discovered that he found it. Wu Chong simply hid it by wrapping it in an ordinary book. Grabbing the book, he rushed to the window to quickly escape unnoticed. On the way, he remembered that he needed to rub the ring to give a signal to Seo Mayan. Suddenly, running around the corner, he reacted with lightning speed to a sword that almost reached him, but he managed to dodge. In front of him was no ordinary opponent. This was a master of martial arts. How did you end up here? And how were you able to dodge my blow? Who are you? Are you by any chance interested in the accounting book? These were the questions asked by the stranger to Young. Young understood that this was a master in front of him. His sword radiates a lot of energy, but who was in front of him? Wu Chang's guard? Why didn't he feel it earlier? Young understood that he wouldn't be able to leave quietly if he had to fight with him. I'm an inspector from the Murima Alliance, and I came for a book that contains illegal records of the results of fights. Young said, if you try to stop me, the Alliance will not stop so easily. Young didn't have time to finish. The signs shattered into pieces. It seems his opponent doesn't care about his words, and he asked what Young will do now. Well, we'll have to fight. A fight broke out. Young attacked, and the enemy defended. Young was glad that an opponent equal to him was fighting with him. Young decides that he will try boxing. Young throws an uppercut from below, but the masked man blocks with his sword. A man in a mask does a somersault in the air from the impact, but he calmly lands on his feet. Young does not lose the initiative and continues to strike, but the enemy dodges. The masked man seizes the moment and counterattacks with his sword. Young dodges and slides down, grabbing the enemy's leg. Realizing that he couldn't reach it with his hands, Young switched from boxing to jujitsu wrestling. Grabbing the leg, Young immediately performs a painful heel hook hold, and it's clear that it worked, but not completely because the enemy has a sword, so you have to let go of your leg before it's too late. Young manages to jump out from under the blow of the sword in time. Young understands that this is a real master in front of him, because anyone else would drop his sword from a painful hold and would not be able to carry out a counterattack. The masked man tells Young that he almost broke his leg. A simple but effective move. However, it won't work the second time. Young sees that the internal energy has become more transferred to the lower part of the opponent's torso. Now he should not go into a fight on the ground. Young decided that he needed to change his technique, and he had something to show the enemy. So Mayan cannot understand why there is still no signal. They agreed that he would give a signal even if he did not find the book. Vibrate twice if successful, and 3 times if it does not find it. SEO Mayan can't understand what's going on. If Mayan was caught, then who can resist him? Is there really a master here of equal strength? Noticing that SEO Mayan is thinking about something, Wu Chang decides to ask. But SEO turns the conversation into a joke. Wu Chang realized that something was wrong with SEO Mayan. She refuses to go to the office for tea, and she also doesn't watch the fights, but is all in her thoughts. Then Wu Chang decides that it's time to show his cards, and he simply asks SEO Mayan what kind of thief broke in with them. SEO Mayan realizes that their plan has been discovered. It's just not clear how. She gets up from the table and tries to leave, but immediately becomes surrounded on all sides by people with swords. What do you allow yourself? SEO Mayan asks the branch manager. He says that he understood everything when she didn't want to go and have tea. Because this is a violation of etiquette, he realized that she was using her position to distract him. SEO Wu Chang says that even if her accomplice finds the book, his mercenary will not let him leave. A red aura glowed around SEO Mayan's sky archer, Murim. Have you forgotten who I am? SEO Mayan asked the branch manager. Do you really think that you can whitewash me with these people? But Wu Chang only said that she was just a bitch and nothing without her bow. At this time there was an explosion. Nobody expected this. Everyone turned to the roof of the building. Yong and the mercenary flew out of the house. The mercenary attacked with a sword, and Yong put a block with his metal gloves. While SEO Mayan screamed in horror towards Yong, one of the fighters mainly decided to attack from behind her, but SEO Mayan noticed in time and responded with a lightning strike. The rest of the fighters also came out of their stupor and decided to attack SEO together. While fighting off the attacks, SEO Mayan thought that there were too many of them. She also thought that she urgently needed to help Yong. She also managed to evaluate the masked mercenary and also decided that he was a high-level martial arts master. The mercenary asks Yong that he promised to show him a lot of cool moves, and he is upset that this is all Yong can do. Yong understands that he does not have as much internal energy as his opponent. He continues to think about attack options. He cannot use the fight at the bottom, and the sword interferes with him at the top. He does not know what to do. Yong's injuries only add to his injuries. On the other hand, he only deflects his attacks. Yong began to laugh at his opponent, which puzzled him a little. Yong still has one more thing up his sleeve and is ready to continue. Have you heard about Kyokushin karate? Yong asked the mercenary. This is a Japanese karate school from the founder Choi Young, a Japanese in Korea. This school differs from the usual professional mixed martial arts because it emphasizes practicality and fighting. Therefore, Kyokushin is perhaps more suitable for Murim, but Yong White did not like to use Kyokushin karate. Yong tries to hit the mercenary, but the mercenary is fast enough and dodges. Yong is surprised how fast he is. The mercenary counterattacks with his sword and Yong blocks and jumps away. Yong wants to deliver a powerful blow and not constantly block. He understands that Kyokushin does not suit his fighting style. Yong again abruptly takes off and tries to hit the enemy in the head, but again his fist is blocked by the sword. The mercenary understands that this fighting technique is quite simple, but it can cause fatal injuries. The power of such a technique can be compared to the blow of a large bowl. Yong continues to attack, but the mercenary dodges. Having dodged the blow, the mercenary jumps away and ends up behind Yong. Now the mercenary feels that with each blow, Yong is hitting harder and harder, but Yong's internal energy has not increased. The mercenary felt Yong's bloodthirstiness increase. The mercenary very quickly jumps up to Yong and jumps and asks that this is all that his fight is capable of. A swing of the sword that could not be blocked in time, too fast, too close. Yong finally pulled out the sword and blood was shed. Damn, his footwork is too good, Yong thought. Kyokushin is unlikely to be able to help here. The mercenary definitely seems too fast now. But at the same time more evil, probably because the mercenary felt threatened by the karate technique. Yong blocks another blow from the mercenary. Yong realizes that he has even less time left and needs to attack urgently. But how to do that? Think while his legs allow him to close the distance to his opponent very quickly. He moves in a straight line and it is difficult for him to suddenly change direction. Therefore, in this case, the answer is quite simple, Yong thought. Again blocking the blow of the sword with his metal gloves. Having dodged the blow, Yong suddenly decides to move, goes around the mercenary and runs. The mercenary is shocked. Has his opponent really decided to run away? Does he really think that he can get rich from him? The mercenary believes that with such wounds, Yong will not be able to escape and suddenly jumps after him. Yong runs to the edge of the roof while controlling the movement of the mercenary behind him. Now you're hooked, he thought. The bait worked. Yong stopped abruptly at the edge and simultaneously turned to face the enemy. Yong prepared to attack while jumping. The mercenary thought that his opponent's behavior was too strange. But now he would definitely get him. The mercenary grabbed the sword in his other hand. A strange technique, the mercenary thought. The distance was closing. The mercenary's sword will now reach Yong's head. Yong's lightning-fast reaction. He already knew that this would happen and put his metal glove towards the blade of the sword. The glove turned out to be stronger than the sword. The tip of the sword could not stand it and shattered into pieces by inertia. The mercenary continued his flight to meet Yong's fists. In a split second, he realized what Yong was up to. But it was too late. Having gained speed, the mercenary could not stop, and having lost his sword, he could no longer block the blow. He was left without protection and got close to Yong. Yong threw the enemy away with a second blow of his fist. He did it. It was a great shot. But that was not the end. He only broke the sword. The enemy is still without major damage. Yong ran towards the enemy as quickly as possible. This is his chance to win while the enemy is without his weapon, and until the mercenary began to use his fast legs again, Yong must put him down very quickly. Having closed the distance, he fell for his own trick and was unable to avoid the mercenary's blow from the blow. Yong flew into the wall and crashed into it with such force that stones flew off the wall. The mercenary admitted that he was very surprised that Yong used his fast legs to destroy his sword. He also admitted that he had not had such an interesting fight for a long time. Yong asked the mercenary how he was able to hit him like that without his weapon. The mercenary explained that he did not want to hide it. His customers simply trust him more when he has a sword. He actually uses a fighting technique called the palm technique. But this knowledge does not change anything, the mercenary answered, turned around and began to leave. Yong said that he wasn't finished yet and asked where he was going to go. The mercenary said not to worry about it and they would see each other again soon. And he threw away his mask. I hope you will be stronger next time, the mercenary said, and left Yong. Having no talent in martial arts and not very smart, the head of the branch did all the dirty work to become successful. This is how he worked his way to the head of the Hunan branch of the Murim alliance. He overcame many difficulties to reach this position. So Mayun stood in a circle of fallen guards who could not get up after her attack. Xiao Wuchang cursed his guards for not being able to deal with some girl. Xiao Mayun said asked him if he still thinks that he is just a girl. Hearing the shouts of the branch head, she turned to him and walked straight towards him. He shouted at her not to come near him. Xiao Wuchang wanted to take a step back, but suddenly he noticed that someone was behind him silently, like a ghost. Someone was next to him. It was Yong, all dirty after the fight with bruises and a wild look. Wuchang fainted from fear, thinking that Yong was a real ghost. Xiao Mayun became worried when she saw Yong's condition, but Yong coughed up blood and said that he was fine. So Mayun apologized. If she had found out earlier that it was a trap, She would not have allowed this to happen. Yong says it's not her fault, he's just too weak. But he will meet with this mercenary again. Because the mercenary saved his life, if Yong understood correctly. They met at the Phoenix tournament. The winner of the last tournament assured that if the stranger appears there, they will conduct a thorough investigation. And Yong is no longer in danger, he is under the protection of the Murim alliance. Yoan asked Xiao Mayun to close his eyes because the mercenary saved his life, didn't pick up the book with fake entries from the qualifying tournament, and the stranger is obsessed with fighting just like Yong. She realized that Yong wanted to fight him again. If he leaves this defeat as it is, he will not be able to sleep well and will be very upset. Yong confirmed that he is going to the Murim alliance as soon as he is cured. Xiao Mayun says that she will also go there to give away this ledger, and asks Yong to accompany her. She hopes that he will not refuse her this, and they will go together. As a result of the investigation, everyone who was involved in the corruption scandal was captured and taken away. The main building of the Murim alliance. Lim Muzin is the leader of the Murim alliance, Emperor's heavily destroying blade. He was tired of all this business. This corruption scandal also did not add interest to him. This position requires him to carefully study all reports. He is the leader of the Murim alliance, but all he wants to do is focus on martial arts. He doesn't like office work. Once upon a time, he was just an ordinary guy. One day trouble happened to him and he fell off a cliff. He was lucky and didn't die. A spirit appeared to him and invited him to discover hidden possibilities within him. Lim Muzin awakened his intelligence and natural talent for martial arts. He achieved amazing results and officially began his journey to Murim. He then began his dangerous journey as a knightly warrior, fighting countless duels. While doing all this, one day he suddenly realized that he had earned the nickname Heaven-Slaying Blade Emperor, and he was promoted to the position of leader of the Murim alliance. He was clearly not happy about this. He didn't want to become one. He knew this even when this guy Jube talked him into it, but then suddenly he noticed among the papers that the girls' school had written them a letter. This is one of the non-standard schools. Are they really going to participate in the Dragon Phoenix tournament this year? It's good that there are no special requirements for participation, but this is the first time that a non-normative sect has joined. It's strange, they were up to something. You need to be prepared just in case, Lim thought. Hebei province. 1 month later, a crowd of people gathered together for a discussion on the summer area around the restaurant. There is a lively debate going on. One man shouts that the winner will be Jiam Vemwang, the Wudon dragon. Other men say that this is unlikely to be possible, because the Wudon school does not have any of the 10 highest. They believe that most likely the winner will be someone from a traditional school, perhaps a small dragon Buddha. He is the best student of the school. Others believe that the winner will be female fighter from Hua Mountain Iceflower, Kong Yunhua, with an icy but beautiful appearance. She is a tough fighter among all ages. There are rumors that she will become the greatest plum blossom warrior. They heard that she trains very hard like a maniac. At the same time, she is very beautiful, but she trains hard. They are waiting to see her and get to know each other. Yang is surprised that the festival is attended not only by traditional schools and their students, but also by just people who want to see the fights. He is also happy to join them. Yang ate well and was in excellent physical shape. Yang is ready to enter the tournament. Murim Alliance Arena Dragon Phoenix Tournament. Huang Yusan, the tournament host, welcomes all participants and visitors to the tournament. Before the tournament begins, the host introduces the head of the Murim Alliance, Lim Muzin, and invites him to say a few words. The leader's assistant asks him not to do anything stupid and read the speech from the piece of paper. The leader addresses everyone present. He is happy to welcome everyone to the opening of the tournament. The assistant is pleased with the beautiful beginning of the speech. But then Lim tears the piece of paper into pieces, and he continues to speak. But only what he wants to say. He doesn't want to preach or grumble. There is only one thing he wants to ask for this tournament: enjoy the duels, and the audience joyfully responded with shouts. Yang, listening to the short speech of the leader of the alliance, decided that the leader was not as dangerous as he had previously thought. Competing in this style is a little exciting for Yang. Even in his previous life, he did not have such experience. Exciting but looks fun. Before the start of the competition, a standings appeared of 64 fighters who qualified for the tournament. She looks in a similar format as in Yang's past life. Yang saw himself on the first line. His opponent is Ko Hyuk. The tournament must be completed in 3 days in this case. It is important to maintain stamina. Yang wondered if the guy in the mask with whom he had fought not so long ago was among the participants in the tournament. The only thing he remembers about him is his voice and the martial art he uses. Perhaps he should study opponents who use the palm technique first. Then, he remembered that perhaps he would be noticed when watching the fights. The host called the participants to the first fight and told them to get ready. One of the members approached Yang and asked him, "Are you Yang White?" It was his opponent Ko Hyuk, with whom he was supposed to have his first fight. Yang ignored all the remarks and teasing of his opponent. The opponent was angry that Yang ignored him. She is angry that Yang doesn't know him and doesn't care that he's so cool. He decided that Yang would regret that he did not respect him so much, and so the first fight ends. 2 fighters enter the arena. Yang White emerges from the Golden Tiger Wall, Tai Dragon Sword from the Runin School. Viewers are surprised that Yang doesn't have a nickname. Usually for competitions, participants take on some cool nickname. The cheerleaders from Jonin School support their fighter and shout out, "Ko Hyuk will win." Ji, seeing the support from the stands, shouted to them not to worry. He would finish this fight quickly. Yang thought he was a little jealous that his opponent had a nickname. But then I thought that the nickname that suited Yang perfectly was a knight-errant thief or a fighting fanatic. Ji, seeing Yang smile, began to get furious. He shouted so that Yang should not dare ignore him and laugh at him. Ji said that he is not a joke. The judge told them to get ready for the fight, and if they are ready, then they can start. Both fighters said they were ready. The judge announced the start of the fight. The fight began, and Ji was the first to rush towards Yang. Having sufficiently run up, Ji jumped up and decided to attack from above. Yang was ready for the strike and blocked the blow with his metal gloves. Ji used the sword technique Merciless Tai. Spectators said that Ji was a rising star and the best representative of the sect. Yang quickly analyzed and realized that a sword technique like GS was soft and flexible and had no power. These are momentum embrace techniques. Such an advanced technique can only be used by gifted fighters of the Jianan sect. Yang understood how he would continue the fight and decided to also be flexible and show his soft technique. Ji was amused by this stance. Ji attacked again with his sword. Yang easily dodged the sword and was able to close the distance and get closer to his opponent. Ji couldn't land the next blow. Yang blocked his hands. Grabbing his kimono, Yang threw himself over his hip, a technique used in judo. The throw ended with a very strong fall to the ground. The school students were shocked. Yang's opponent was struck down and knocked out. The fight is over. The judge announced, Yang White, a student from the Golden Tiger Wall School, is declared the winner. Seeing this, the head of the school became furious. He could not understand how a student of an unknown sect could defeat his gifted student. Ji, the head of the union, and his assistant decided not to kick him out or interfere. They discussed Yang's wrestling style and came to the conclusion that he used the weight and strength of a wrestler. The head of the Allens decided that this technique differs from the Taiji technique, but goes well with it. The head of the alliance liked Yang. He compared it to the wind. It is not limited to any particular form like the wind. Yang got tired and decided to leave the ring. He felt sleepy. Having received permission to leave, he left. Yang understood that by applying his past life experience in MMA in this tournament, he would receive a negative assessment from other masters. But he did not think that it would be so bad. Therefore, he decided to leave the stand so as not to irritate the spectators and representatives of other martial arts sects sitting nearby. Suddenly, he heard someone address him with a question. "Where are you going to go?" Yang immediately replied that it was none of his business. Turning around, Yang saw his brother-in-law. Long time no see. White. His brother-in-law praised him for a great fight. Yang said that he was lucky. His opponent was not so strong. The brother-in-law explained that one of the best fighters who had claimed victory in this tournament fought with him. Yang was very surprised by these words. The brother-in-law continued to talk about his opponent with a big smile. He said that this guy has a flawless and exceptional sword technique. Yang laughed. His technique like waves. He would like to see more, but did not expect that the enemy would be killed with one blow. Brother-in-law said that Yang had strong skills, and the audience was shocked by the technique they saw. Yang remembered his teacher's instructions. His teacher said that his fist did not make a good impression, and his martial art would not command respect. But during training, He understood how effective Yang's technique was in battle. The teacher also said that Yang reminds him of how desperate he was back in the day. The brother-in-law explained that everyone who practices martial arts, first of all, wants to become stronger than they are now, and are ready to defend themselves and everything that is dear to them, but they all forgot the real reason. Instead of becoming stronger, they began to think about pride and appearance as the most important thing in the end. The brother-in-law summed up that Yang's martial art was amazing, and even the emperor's sword recognized it. Therefore, do not pay attention to those who judge by appearance. Yang thanked his brother-in-law for his support. Brother-in-law said it was a great conversation. Yang asked if it was true that his brother-in-law would take part in the main competition. Yang said that he would be glad if he wins. The brother-in-law said that he was confident of victory. The brother-in-law left saying goodbye. Yang thought that he shouldn't criticize himself. No matter what others say, he has his own way. Night has come. Yang realized how tired he was. Most of all, I get tired of watching fights. He remembered his desire to find the masked guy and realized one thing. He also thought that the standards at this tournament were lower than he imagined. But still, I didn't see all the fights. Most of them were obsessed with how their martial arts looked instead of how efficient they were. He felt pain in his eyes while watching all the fights. But if he wants to find that guy in the mask, he must watch to the end. Suddenly, an idea dawned on Yang. If he wins the competition with modern martial arts, perhaps the Murim Alliance will realize what they are missing and stop paying attention to appearances and pride. Yang had an interesting idea. Third day of the Dragon Phoenix tournament. More people have gathered today. This is because today is the largest number of interesting fights. The two guys remembered how the tournament began with the defeat of Taishore Drakenji, how Yang defeated his opponent with a throw. Hearing their conversation, the other person became angry, unable to withstand these ridicule. He turned to them and shouted that they should not compare a hooligan fight with martial arts techniques. This guy just bet on the wrong guy. The angry man exhaled and said that such strange martial arts could not last long, and he would lose. People call it martial eccentric. This nickname sounds like a member of a demonic cult. One of them did not agree that this was a good nickname. At the first match, his fight only attracted the eyes of a few people. His technique caused a lot of controversy. People doubted that such a technique was a real martial art. They didn't know what to call such a technique. The only thing they knew was that he was from the Golden Tiger Wall School. Yona's next fight, again, he uses the wrestling technique. By applying a painful hold to his opponent, he forces him to surrender. Once again, the match ended in Yan's victory. And so the referee announces the winner. The winner is Golden Tiger Wall's martial eccentric. Spectators in the stands cheer in shock as the new winner is announced. The spectators are unhappy and shout that he is a bastard and a disgrace to Murim. But Yongwoo doesn't seem to care about these screams. He smiles and glows with happiness because he won. He leaves the ring with a smile and an unperturbed expression, whistling a tune, and thinks that he doesn't care if someone is angry. He doesn't care about respect or pride. He is going to prove to everyone that the main thing is practicality and not pathos. Real martial arts are not dancing. Upon reaching the stands, Yong meets Wonho and is glad to see him. Wonho apologizes for abandoning him last time and leaving without him. Wonho compliments Yong and congratulates him on his easy victory. Yong tries to modestly answer that this is just another stage. And he can't believe that Yong smiles even when others criticize him and says that his mental health is very strong. And one would hardly smile if he was also criticized like Yona. Yong says he smiled even wider to annoy them even more. But enough about that. Yong says he saw his fight 2 years ago and was impressed. Wonho says he has a long way to go compared to him. But the only thing he really wanted was to meet Yong in the finals. Yong would also like to fight with him in battle, and will also be looking forward to this. But suddenly the referee announces that the next match is starting. A fighter from Manhwa Iceflower, Kang Yunhua, is invited to the stage. Rival from the Guachenhu sect. The audience doesn't like him. Everyone likes the girl. The guys are surprised that the guy is simply insulted like that and don't understand the reason. They decided that the reason was precisely that this guy's opponent was a beautiful girl. And the audience just wanted her to win, and she was from a well-known sect. On the contrary, he's from a little-known and small martial arts sect. She has extraordinary abilities and is one of the top rising stars of the top 10 sections. She is also beautiful, therefore the audience took her side. They see the guy as a villain, and it's a little sad because that's not true. And they are not villains just because they are weaker and less famous than their school. Young doesn't recognize her a little. She looks strange. He remembers her differently. He remembers her when she was quite cheerful and bright. Manhwa says that he also remembers how she smiled when she was younger, but one day everything changed when she followed her teacher and when she returned. The referee announced the start of the fight, and the girl was the first to lunge. The guy is shocked by her speed. He raised his sword and became defensive. Young and Manhwa continued their conversation during the fight. Manhwa doesn't know the exact details, but he does know that she got into a fight with a boy her age and lost badly. After this, she became disillusioned with martial arts and became quite cold towards others. This affected her greatly personally. Young smiled because he decided that Manhwa was talking about her too emotionally. Manhwa was surprised by such a smile. Young asked him that he was interested in her. Manhwa began to deny that it was not at all, and there was no need to joke like that, and he didn't fall for her. But Young continues to joke. Young offered to talk to her, and when he was young, he actually... Suddenly Young remembered how he fought with a girl as a child. Was it really her? Then he won that battle. She lost badly. Then Young realized that it was she and it was he who influenced her. Now she is a ruthless fighter and is no longer the little girl she was when she was a child. The fight continues. The girl knocked the sword out of her opponent's hands. The opponent is defeated and gives up. The referee announces the winner. Winner Ice Flower from Hua Mountain, Kong Yunhua. Most of the spectators are delighted and believe that she will most likely win the tournament. And suddenly one of the spectators came up with a nickname for her, Ice Flower Phoenix. Other fans picked up this nickname and all the spectators started chanting Ice Flower Phoenix. She turned around and saw Young and Manhwa. The guys were clearly embarrassed and Young felt ashamed. So again, the fight. New tournament participants entered the ring. Manhwa is a representative of the Shaolin Temple, the Little Dragon Buddha. His rival is from the Kunlun Taihu Sek dragon sword named Young Manhwa. The fighters wished each other a great fight. The guy with the sword was the first to jump at Manhwa, shouting and getting ready. Manhwa dodged the sword and pointed it to the side while trying to strike with his other fist. Young, looking at the fight, noted that Manhwa had become stronger than before, but he still follows standard combat and does not move away from his technique. Young decided that the little Buddha dragon would win, and I decided to go and rest. How suddenly he heard, "Are you avoiding me?" Young turned around and saw a girl approaching him. "Oh, you haven't changed at all," the girl said. "The same stupid face and the same shameful military techniques." Young immediately replied that he doesn't care who thinks his fighting style is a disgrace. It's his style. Kong Yunhua laughed and compared his style to tumbling on sand. Young said, "Yes, but I still won, despite such martial arts, just like I did before when I fought with you as a child." Kong blushed at these words. Young continued, "Why are you looking at me like that? Are you interested in me?" Kong Yunhua was furious. "Who could be interested in someone like you?" Young asked, "Do you have anything to tell me?" "Okay, then I'll be the first to say. Honestly, I have nothing to say if you hold a grudge for what happened when we were young. I just stay true to my martial arts style, and I didn't mean to humiliate you, and while everyone is looking at my martial arts, I am proud of it, and I really believe that my technique is the..." Kong Yunhua was shocked by these words, but decided to continue the conversation. "What are you talking about? That's what I wanted to say." Young replied, "You lost to me because I was weak. It was only because I was stronger. Okay, forget about this defeat in the past." Young replied with a smile. But suddenly he realized that he wanted to support her, but it turned out that he said a bunch of crap and he felt disgusted by it. He felt so embarrassed and ashamed. Kong stood silently and did not know what to answer. The conversation clearly didn't work out. But then the girl replied that she had not come to quarrel with him. The girl said that she was not ready to show all her strength in the previous battle. But she will show in the next match how much stronger she has become, and let her watch the next match more carefully. Kong turned around at these words and laughed. Young exhaled with relief because she was not angry with him. She just decided to say that she had become stronger than in childhood. Suddenly he saw the battle continuing. The fighter with the sword was lying on the floor, clearly after a good punch to the chest. The enemy surrendered. Manhwa is declared the winner. Shaolin Little Buddha Dragon won. The fight ended faster than Young expected. Well, let's see what the next duel will be. He saw his brother-in-law. It looks like the next fight will involve him. He decided to support his relative and shouted to him, "Crush them!" The referee announced that this is the last fight today. Both opponents are on the battlefield. On the right is the Nankong clan hidden dragon named Nangong Huang, and on the left is a fighter who came from Fujiang province Flaming Yang sect. Nicknamed Inferno and named Zhang Obiang, was surprised. He had never heard of this fighter. Maybe he missed some kind of duel. He seemed familiar to Young, but where did he see him? Suddenly someone behind shouted to Young to wait for him. It was Won-ho. He decided to thank Young for staying to watch his fight, but Young answered honestly that he saw the beginning and the end. Won-ho behaved strangely, as if he was looking for someone. What's happening? Won-ho asked where the ice phoenix flower was. She seemed to be here. Young said that she went to the waiting room a long time ago. Won-ho asked if they were talking about him, but Young said no. Suddenly they noticed her nearby, and she was looking in their direction. Won-ho thought that she was showing interest in him, but Young knew that he was mistaken. Young decided to joke and cheerfully replied that he didn't remember talking to her about him. Then Young turned back to the ring and decided to ask if Won-ho knew who the guy nicknamed Inferno was. Won-ho doesn't know for sure, but he knows that this fighter is taking part in this tournament for the first time. Won-ho decided that this fighter looked strong and it was worth watching this fight. You could learn something new. Young also noticed that this fighter has very good footwork. He moves well and quickly. He uses a powerful palm technique. His hands and movements reminded him of a recent stranger. This guy could be the same masked stranger that Jan fought with on the roof of the Marin branch. He completely forgot about him, but it turned out to be true that he would be a participant in the tournament. Won-ho noticed Young's tension and decided to ask if he was okay. But Young replied that he was just tired and not to worry. Won-ho suggested going first to take a break from watching so many matches, and he offered to retell the results of the battle as soon as it was over. But Young refused and said that everything was fine. He must see this fight with his own eyes. Not long ago, before the match, when Young's brother-in-law was going to the match, his wife came up to him and gave him various food items for his journey. She wished him victory and to return safe and sound. He promised her that it would be so and she can be sure of it, and so both fighters prepared for the fight and are waiting for the referee to give the command to start the fight. Young's brother-in-law took a fighting stance. Both patriarchs discussed the fighters. They noticed that Hong was very nervous. On the other hand, they have no information about the Inferno guy. They believe that Hong is nervous because he doesn't know what fighting strategy to use, but one of them believes that he is not strong enough because he loves his wife and devotes more time to her than to training. But they also don't know how strong Inferno is. There are rumors about him throughout Murim. They cannot appreciate his power as if he wears a mask. He hides his strength as a result. Hong's father is now shocked that his interlocutor cannot feel the power of Inferno, and he calms him down and tells him not to worry. In any case, if he can hide his inner strength, then he is most likely a powerful martial artist. They are sure that Hong knows about this and is ready, and therefore he is worried more than usual. The gray-haired head of the clan offered to admire the skill of his son. It doesn't matter who is in front of Hong in this battle. They will fight. Both fighters said they were ready for the fight, and the referee gave the start. Hong ran sharply to the side, which discouraged the red-haired fighter. Inferno decided that Hong wanted to test what he was capable of by increasing the distance between them. Perhaps he was as careful as rumors circulated about him, but this is useless, even if he wants to escape from the Inferno. It can't match the speed of his leg movements. Noticing that Inferno reacted to this, Hong also rushed towards him and decided this was his chance. He stopped abruptly, used the heavily flying swallowing sword technique, swinging his sword so hard that it is impossible to get close due to the energy it emits. Yang and Won-ho are shocked by what they see. Won-ho believes that now the match will end with the level of energy that this sword emits. Yang doubts his brother-in-law will be able to win so easily. Inferno used his technique. He also noted that the sword technique is very strong, but not enough to win. Hong realized that his opponent was much stronger than he thought. He also decided that when Inferno uses his legs and jumps, he cannot quickly change his route and he can catch him doing it. If this is all that Inferno is capable of, then he can finish it with the help of his secret technique. It seems that these two guess what Hong is up to, but we don't yet. Inferno is in good mood and feels strong, but doesn't know what's next yet. Hong uses his secret technique from the Imperial style and makes an attack. Spectators in the stands froze in surprise. It became cold around, as if in winter. Yang also felt the cold air. This is the radiation of Hong's internal energy. It is very powerful. Perhaps his brother-in-law will win this duel. Inferno decided to comment on this technique. He told Hong this technique is very powerful and releases internal energy to the outside, but inside it kills. You should be afraid of such a destructive technique if you have insufficient control. It can harm you. But Hong just shouted back, "Shut your mouth." "Well, if this is not so, then show me." Inferno said. Thousands of icy, knife-sharp fragments rained down on Inferno. Inferno doesn't expect this ice. He dodged them as best he could, but could not defend himself completely from them. Some fragments wounded him, but he did not wait and immediately attacked in response, jumping towards the enemy. As he jumped, Inferno activated his technique, but she didn't help him and he was thrown away. Again, thousands of ice arrows flew at him. Hong thought that he was winning and needed to finish this fight again. A new technique of 10 iron swords. Hong jumped towards Inferno with his sword pointed forward. The spectators froze in anticipation. The heads of the clans were also waiting to see how it would end. The sword almost reached its target, but Inferno's hands grabbed the tip of the sword. "I saw that you were nervous, but you were strong enough. Not enough to defeat me though," Inferno said, moving the tip of his sword to the side. The fight continued. Inferno threw away Hong's sword and jumped at him with great speed. He touched Hong's head with his hand. Hong couldn't react in time. He was too close. The sword flew to the side from the blow. Hong flew away from such a throw and fell hard, raising dust. He needs to get into a stance as quickly as possible, but Inferno will not give him such a chance. Inferno is already in the air and flies to finish off his opponent. A powerful blow occurred. Hong lay there recovering from the blow. Inferno stood over the victim. Hong's mind was spinning with thoughts. Impossible. He repelled the attack with ice and blocked my blow without any damage. His level of invincible physical strength. He is simply invulnerable. Inferno turned to his opponent. "I see that the spirit of struggle has faded in your eyes. Do you accept your defeat?" Huang replied that normally he would admit defeat, but he doesn't want to do it right now. Yang and Wanho are worried because if Huang uses Ice Punch now, both of them will be hit. Huang remembered and mentally asked his wife for forgiveness for not being able to keep her promise. Huang used his technique and thousands of ice stones fell on them. Inferno activated his magic and a flame lit up in his hands. Streams of fiery tentacles burst out of Inferno's hands and began to burn the ice. Huang looked and couldn't believe his eyes. Simply not possible. Inferno said he was impressed by such an icy show. But too weak against my skill at frying. Winter Flame sacked Young. Inferno jangled winner. The audience is delighted again. They liked the fight. They are also glad that finally a representative of the new school can become the winner in a long time. Huang leaves the ring almost exhausted and the referee helps him. On the way out his father meets him and asks if he's okay, how he's feeling. He asks his father for forgiveness for losing this fight. The father decided to support his son and says that he did everything he could, and Huang replies that he has no regrets. The father tells the referee to leave his son to him. He will help him. His father tells Huang that everything will be fine and he needs to trust him. Huang still feels guilty and apologizes again, but his father says that he did everything he could. The father says that he is proud that he has such a son. He lost, but it was a wonderful ending. Meanwhile, Young left Wanho while he thought about what lessons and experience he learned from watching this fight. He approached Inferno. Probably he wanted to clarify some points for himself. Don't look at me like that. If you have something to say it quickly. Inferno replied when he noticed Yona. Yang asked if he was the one who fought him at the Hunan branch. If yes, then what? Do you think people like me can't take part in the tournament, or do you want to take revenge on your brother-in-law? No, I don't want to do this, Young answered sharply. Suddenly streams of energy burst out from somewhere. The energy flows described a circle and created an energy barrier. Young says that he will learn new techniques from their last meeting. This barrier will not allow other people to hear their conversation. Inferno asked what his interlocutor was up to. Young says that he's not planning anything bad. He's just so happy to meet him that he wanted to hug him, but Inferno thinks that Young is mocking him. Young continues to say that he's not angry and doesn't care that he did a bad job or that he beat his brother-in-law. Well, it'll be more honest, I just want to fight you one more time. Inferno was surprised by this proposal and asked Young if he wanted to fight right here. And Young replied that it was not a bad idea, and Young suggested doing it on the big stage for convenience. Inferno doubts that Young will last until the finals with him, but Young said that he is absolutely sure. Young confidently continued to say that not one of the participants could defeat him. No one except Inferno is possible, so he asked Inferno to stay in good condition and they will soon meet in the ring. 2 days passed, the quarterfinals of the tournament. A fighter with a spear is trying to attack our hero. Young blocks and deflects these blows with his metal gloves. The audience cheers for the fighter with the spear. Young blocks again and the fire spear does no damage. Young moves sideways from the blow of the spear but remains on his feet. The opponent is happy that Young cannot use his power on him and thinks that Young is afraid of his spear. The fighter's name is Jizub. He is from the Shandong clan, nicknamed the Azure Dragon. He continues to chat about how Young is upset because he is fighting such a tough fighter like him and cannot win. Young seems tired of this fight. He probably needs to change tactics. The Azure Dragon performs tricks with a spear and continues to joke. Jizub decides that it's time for him to end this match with a victory and uses his move, jumping up and trying to attack from above like a snake. Young thinks that this is not enough to win. Having gotten too close to Young, he became open to a blow and immediately got hit in the face. The audience is shocked by this turn. They again see something unreal. The Azure Dragon is lying on the floor with a slightly bruised face, seemingly unconscious. The referee assesses the situation and considers that the duel is over. The referee announces the winner. Young won the fight. Young leaves the stage. Young is unhappy that he has such weak opponents. He wants to fight Inferno. The defeat in the last battle with Inferno on the roof haunts him. He wants to fight him again. Seeing how Young hit the wall and broke off a piece, some person approached him. Coming closer, she turned to Young and asked why he was so unhappy and for what problem he could not find a solution. She likes such expressions, added the red-haired stranger. Young stood stunned by this behavior, not understanding what was happening and how to behave. The red-haired beauty continued to compliment Young, bewitching him. Is this magic? But then Young woke up, removed her hand from his face and began to speak. What are you doing? Asked Young. The redhead is surprised that he doesn't know her. She thinks that all the men here know her and says that maybe she is too arrogant. In fact, Young knows who she is. She is Oing, who, from the Bloody Maiden sect, nicknamed the Azure Blood Whip. She left a deep impression on Young because she uses a whip technique and a martial art that is not limited to ordinary techniques and unorthodox school. When she goes out to duel, it looks like she is torturing people and fighting. Young didn't understand what she wanted from him. She continues to talk to him in phrases that are incomprehensible to him. She is surprised that he reacts to her words. She decided to stop throwing empty phrases and directly said that she wanted to ask him for something. Are you dating an ice flower phoenix? Ingu asked. Young is shocked by this question. Young shouted, what the hell are you talking about? She saw them talking recently and decided that they knew each other. Young decided to tell her that they know each other, but this is not enough for everyone to think that they are a couple. Ingu laughed. She says that Young is a very tough fighter but not very smart. She says that ordinary people don't understand this, but not her. She sees people through. She heard a rumor that when the ice flower phoenix was young, an incident happened to her, after which she began to build a wall around herself. She thought it was fake until she met her at the tournament. She saw her icy eyes, and then she saw how Young was arguing with her and made the following conclusions. Ice flower phoenix, who was always so cold, suddenly spoke to Young with such an expression. Young asked what she was trying to tell him. She is my next opponent and I may be too rough during the duel, said the redhead. And if you are a couple, I will apologize to you in advance, because what happens will look bad in the eyes of her partner. The red-haired devil finally admitted. Young said that she did not need to apologize to him. He met the ice flower for a short time in childhood. They do not have a relationship. Young said that he was tired and would go to rest. He thought to himself that meeting the ice phoenix flower was simply ridiculous. Bloody Azure Whip was not satisfied with Yang's answer and now has doubts. After Yang's match, the following matches started to happen faster. There were victories for his buddy Wan Ho. The little dragon Buddha also continued to defeat Inferno from the Flame Yang sect. And then came the battle between Ice Flower Phoenix and her rivals. Her opponent was the same Azure Bloody Whip from the Bloody Maiden sect. So the match started. Support from the spectators towards the flower was heard from the stands. Bloody Whip decided to chat a little before the fight. This is her first time seeing the Ice Phoenix flower so close, and she notes that she is very beautiful. Ice Flower doesn't care. She keeps her cool. Bloody Whip doesn't understand why Ice Flower doesn't want to talk to her. Ice Flower said that the Bloody Whip probably wants to fight with his mouth. Ice Flower suggested focusing on the fight, and Bloody Whip agreed with displeasure. Blood Whip prepared herself for battle and began swinging her whip. The referee saw that everyone was ready and announced the start of the fight. Bloody Whip waved and decided to attack first, pointing the end of her whip at the Ice Flower's face. The Ice Flower dodged and suddenly rushed towards her opponent to close the distance. Let's see what happens next. The Ice Flower is already close to its red-haired rival. Bloody Whip doesn't see anything dangerous in this. She's having fun. She sees this as predictable behavior from her opponent. Ice Flower blocks with her sword, and he also attacks back with the energy of his sword. We see how this technique worked. A hurricane force ice stream went towards the opponent of the Ice Flower. Spectators from the stands shout words of support to their favorite. They clearly like this reception. Oniho is worried and wants the Ice Flower Phoenix to win, but Young just watches. Young knows that not everything is so simple, and Owenhu is not an easy opponent. The icy fog is dissipating. Bloody Whip did not expect such rudeness towards her. This reception upset Inha. Yunhua stood waiting for an answer. Yunhua thought that the blow did not cause much damage to her opponent, but she realized from this attack that her opponent was not so strong. Blood Whip wipes the blood from his nose and prepares to retaliate. Yunhua thinks her sword is a level faster than a whip. If he can use this, he can win. She thought that when she wins, she will assert herself even more. Thoughtful. She lost focus and did not have time to block the blow of the whip. Inhu was glad that she had caught her opponent and struck. The blow was so hard that it tore off part of the Ice Flower's clothing. Inhu asked if the Ice Flower wanted to continue the fight. Are you ready to fight further? The Bloody Whip asked, smiling. Inhu felt she had an advantage and laughed at Yunhua. Yunhua began to lose control. She screamed to shut her mouth. Again, the blow of the whip is from the other side. The clothes are torn again by the whip and hit hard on the second hand. Bloody Whip continues to mockingly say that she is sorry, and did not know that she would not be able to block the blow, and the clothes were torn again. Probably because you're ashamed that part of your body is not covered. You are a woman, not a fighter. Inhu continued to speak and put her foot on Yunhua's head. Yunhua got tired of this mockery and grabbed Ina's leg with her hand. With screams, what does she know about it? Removing her foot, she stood up and swung her sword. Yunhua continued to say that she has no idea how hard she worked to get this far. The fight continued. Anger gave Yunhua strength. You don't know anything, Yunhua shouted. It's time to test how much of a fighter you are, answered the Bloody Whip. And we will learn the difference between the shame of a woman and the pride of a martial arts fighter. Now we will find out what you will choose. Finished speaking Bloody Whip. It looks like the whip reached Yunhua and her clothes again, causing her pain. Some spectators could not stand it and decided to leave, because it no longer looked like an ordinary fight, more like the entertainment of one crazy woman. Yunhua continued to fight. Her will is still strong and she will continue the fight. One of the spectators cannot understand why the fight is not stopped and shouts for it to stop. This must stop because this is not a duel but an inhumane mockery. The host thinks what to say and what decision to make. If we stop the fight now, she will never be able to hold the sword anymore, the host replied. You don't know how hard she worked on herself to become who she is now. He shouted to her, now we can only believe in it. Yunhua heard and swung her sword. Yunhua and Inhu continued their battle. "You're not that badly injured, but your movements have become slower," said the bloody whip. "She is trying to attack just to tear my clothes," thought the ice flower. She couldn't lose over something so small. She'd been through too much, she thought to herself. "I have to focus on my opponent first." Yunhua continued to hit the whip with her sword. "Oh my God! I see your thighs," continued to mock Inhu. She was distracted again and missed the blow of the whip. This time the whip hit his head. The blow was strong enough for Yunhua to fly to the side and fall. Yunhua lay on the floor of the ring, breathing heavily. "You have to understand, you're not a martial artist or anything like that," the bloody whip of the Azura said directly. "You're just a woman," Inhu summed it up. "The fact is why I can't fight well to Maliangua, because I was a little naked and distracted by this. I tried to hide this shame, maybe I'm really not meant for this." She remembered Yong's words. He told her that even when people look at his martial arts with contempt or criticize him, he's proud of his martial arts. He told her that she lost not because she was weak, but because he was stronger than. She also needs to become stronger than this person. She stopped trying to cover her body and threw the cloth in her rival's face. Now she will fight differently, without being distracted by her uncovered flesh. "You're no better than me when you use your dirty tricks." Yunhua shouted. "Oh you bitch," Inhu shouted. "I'm sorry that I haven't shown all my power yet." Yunhua replied. Blue energy engulfed Yunhua and she jumped with the sword at her opponent. "Now I will show you everything I can do." Yunhua shouted and struck with her sword so that the bloody whip flew off from the blow. The spectators were shocked by what they saw. Yang is also shocked by what is happening. "Welcome to the next level, impossible." Damn Allah, Inhu and spit blood into the ring. This bitch was on the verge of death, how could she? Yunhua was preparing to finish off her enemy. There is no stopping her. Bloody whip stood up. She couldn't lose like this. "Don't stop," Yunhua shouted. Inhu swung her whip with all her anger. The red streams of energy from her whip created an almost impenetrable defense, but not for Yunhua. She easily dodged the lashes and approached Inhu. Approaching Inhu, she struck with her sword. Yunhua's opponent is back on the floor, writhe in pain. She whispered, "How could you?" Yunhua looked at her rival now as a predator and not a victim. But suddenly, Inhu grabbed her whip and swung it, attacking Yunhua, shouting, "Don't you dare look at me from above." This was not a simple swing of a whip, it was a special technique. Yunhua repelled all the attacks of the whip, but the energy of the whip engulfed her. Bloody whip thought it didn't work. Yunhua continued to stand and asked, "Is this all?" Suddenly Yunhua felt something strange. Suddenly she just fell to the floor of the ring. She was paralyzed and could not move. Inhu was happy her dirty trick had worked. "It seems that the ice phoenix flower has no energy left," Inhu said, and slowly started to get up. Did she really use some kind of poison? "I can't move, Damala." Yunhua. Azura's blood whip continued to approach Yunhua, continuing to say that she was surprised that she continued despite the humiliation, and did she really think that she had become stronger? Bloody whip. Inhu decided to check how Yunhua would feel now if she destroyed her face. She swung her whip and aimed it straight at Yunhua's face. Yunhua was already preparing for the blow, but suddenly the blow did not happen. The whip stopped the small Buddha dragon with Wanho's hand. Blood splashed onto the floor from the blow. Everyone was shocked by this turn of events. "Get away before I tear this hand off," Inhu screamed. "Of course I apologize for my behavior, but you went too far in your actions," Wanho said. Judging by the look in her eyes, she didn't like it very much. She threw down the whip and she said, "That's why I don't like orthodox bastards." She started calling for the referee. The referee came closer in fear and she asked the referee about the disqualification of participants if they interfere in fights during the tournament. "This is true." Wanho picked up Yunhua and is going to help her leave the battlefield. The referee doesn't know what to answer because this is not simple. It's a question of morality. The audience is furious. They shout that she is a crazy bitch and heartless. The audience screams for her to get out of here and that they don't hate unorthodox bastards. But then the head of the tournament shouted throughout the stadium and called on everyone to shut up. The scream was so powerful that everyone heard his words. He said that the situation is difficult, but they call themselves orthodox for a reason. They must preserve traditions and their own rules. Little Buddha Dragon will be disqualified. Manhwa helped the Ice Flower Phoenix. School officials thank him for this. We want to reward you for your kindness, the teacher said. But Manhwa said that everything is fine and there is no need to worry. He was more interested in how she felt. Her teacher said that thanks to him she was not seriously injured. She is very upset by the result of this match and wants to be alone. Okay. Say get well soon, said the little dragon Buddha. The teacher agreed. Manhwa left clearly in a good mood. The teacher couldn't understand how Manhwa was in such a good mood. He should be upset about the disqualification, but he continues to worry about someone else. Amazing man, thought the teacher. The second student decided to have a fight with the teacher. He suspects that the fight was unfair. Everything is somehow strange. He says the bloody whip of the Azura clearly did some kind of trick. Yunhua could not have fallen so sharply. It looks like paralytic poison. The student expressed his opinion, but the teacher replied that it was enough to discuss this. It was all over, and there were no signs of poison or tricks. Yes, she most likely uses some kind of poison made using a special technology that does not allow it to be identified or detected. The teacher said, "It is unlikely that the Murim Alliance will agree to stop the tournament so that we can figure this out." The student got very angry. He thinks that this is so unfair because she would have won if not for these tricks of the unorthodox bitch. He immediately apologized for such statements. Long heard this conversation standing not far away, and realized that Yunhua's loss was due to Inhis dishonest game. 2 days later, the tournament continues. This is the semi-final of the Dragon Phoenix tournament. The fight is between Jan White of the Golden Tiger Wall and Ou Inhu, Azura Blood Whip of the Blood Maiden sect. The stands are waiting for the fight to start. It will be an interesting fight. Spectators are discussing that this is an unusual battle between the original Battle Berserker and the Insidious Viper. On the one hand, we see a renegade martial arts master, and on the other, a villain whose heart is filled with evil. The fans don't know who to root for, because they don't really like both of them. Young remembered and thought about everything connected with Yunhua and her defeat in the past and now. Again, a short conversation before the fight. Inhu says she expected such a fight to take place between two hotly debated figures in the tournament. She's trying to somehow hurt him with her words. She says that he has no protection. Her whip can hurt him without armor. He was tired of the arguing and said that she was too talkative. Enough of this chatter, let's get started, Young said. But before he could finish speaking, the end of the whip was already flying into his face. A cunning trick it was to be expected, but let's see what happens next. Inhu happily said that the orthodox guys are not very good, because they are proud and want to look good. That's why he will also lose. The fog that had risen cleared, and it became clear that the end of the whip was in Young's hand. Young says she is right, they are losing because of their pride. Young pulled the whip towards himself with all his strength. The bloody whip of the Azura flew up from this and will probably fall now. She was shocked by this. What the hell? Flew straight towards Yona. Young threw an elbow strike straight to the head. The Azura's bloody whip flew away. From such a blow, she somersaulted in the air and fell several times like a ball. The fall did not end in the ring, and she rolled out of the ring. She seems to have lost consciousness. Once again, the audience is shocked by what happened, but the audience liked it. They rejoice and shout that the amazing original martial artist is a berserker. The fight is over. Winner Young Yte, Origin Martial Berserker. The head of the alliance liked the fight and praises Young for it. Inferno asks for what reason he called them both. The head of the Murium alliance congratulates them on reaching the finals. He is sorry that the little dragon Buddha is disqualified. Perhaps he would have stood here instead of Inferno. Inferno clearly didn't like this. He said that he was leaving if there was nothing more to say. Young also thought that why should he stay here? Wait, I haven't finished the conversation yet, the head of the alliance said. Everyone felt the pressure he created. A blue light was created in the air. Both participants in the tournament were tense and frightened by this, but then the head of the alliance exhaled and laughed. "Why are you so scared? It's a joke. I want eat you," said the head of the alliance. "Okay, stop joking. The reason why I called you both here," the head continued, "because you're both too suspicious." Young could not stand it and asked what he was talking about, what he meant. "To be honest, several elders and he complained about your suspicious origins." He continued, "I looked at your documents and both origins are very suspicious. On the one hand, they are strange and at the same time too pure," says the head of the alliance. The original Battlemaster Berserker helped the Murim alliance during the incident in the Hunan branch, and he was sent here by the Golden Tiger Wall. So there are no problems with his identification, but your records, John O, are too clean. It's strange, it was as if someone had specially cleaned them, the head continued to say. So he called them both here to sort it out. Therefore they need to interrogate them and they ask for cooperation. Young said that he is not against cooperation, but why question him? Because there are no problems with his identification and they know where he is from. The head of the alliance replied that it was because it was wrong for the indestructible flame to be allowed in alone. No one understood what the head of the alliance meant, but had to agree. Night has fallen and we see someone leaving the house of the head of the alliance. It was Young. He was tired and didn't expect it to drag on until dark. The more he thought, the more he could not understand what was happening and why the leader of the Murim alliance was conducting the interrogation in person. The leader of the alliance was wondering where Young learned such combat techniques and whether he had any other techniques that he had not shown. He thought it would be an interrogation, but it turned out that he just wanted to talk to him and he was very tired of it. He didn't know what to answer. He was also angry that the leader spoke disdainfully and mockingly about his technique and could not believe that with such martial art it was possible to reach the finals. But suddenly in the courtyard he met Yunhua. "Congratulations, Origin Martial Berserker," she said. He didn't expect to see her and didn't know what to tell her. There was a silent pause. He told her that he was glad to see her and that she was already better. But then he thanked her for her congratulations and said that he needed a good rest before the final and began to leave. She said that she saw his fight with Inhu yesterday. He looked a little different than in training and decided to ask if it could be because I lost like that. Yunhua asked, or maybe I just made it all up. She added. Yong replied that it seemed to her that he was fighting as usual. She replied that she knew that he would answer like that and lowered her eyes down. It was hard for her to talk about it, but she really cried in her house after the defeat. Yunhua admitted she said that she was very upset to lose because she thought that this opponent was weaker than her. She was angry with herself for losing and couldn't stop crying. She thought that she was so pathetic. Yong said that she was not pathetic. She reminded him that in his childhood he said that victory is the most important thing in battle, no matter how. He replied that he just wanted to win. He wanted to explain to her, but she interrupted him and said that she knew what he wanted to say. You simply wanted to say that whatever martial arts one uses, it's more important that they use it with the right mindset. She thinks she was jealous of him, who could say this with such pride. She believes that the Azura won the bloody whip because she did everything she could to win, and even more. On the other hand, she only thought about Yong's victory and lost because of her own arrogance. Now she will be patient in her desire to become stronger than Yong. She will overcome all goals step by step to achieve this. Yong listened and didn't know what to answer, so she wants him to put all his thoughts aside and focus on his next fight. Yong thought about her words and looking higher at the mountain he saw Inferno standing. Yes, that's what really bothered him. He wanted revenge. He replied that he was complicating everything and there was no need to worry, and he added that he has no choice. He must win. The leader's assistant informed him that the lie detector ball did not reveal any lies. The leader of the Murim alliance was surprised, but decided that their judgments were probably wrong because the lie detector ball had not deceived the ball before. But there was still a result when they tested Inferno. They asked to put their hand on the ball that shows true or false. Yong asked me to tell them about my past starting from early childhood. When he was 7, he joined the Fiery Yang sect in Fujian province. But soon after, the sect was attacked. The city was on fire. Everyone except him was killed by unknown killers, and he was left alone among the ruins of the school. He went to the mountains and wandered there for a long time. One day he was lucky to meet a hermit, who, having learned that he was from a sect, invited him to study the Yang fiery strike technique. After a while, he returned to his province and challenged the martial arts master who ruled this territory, Ji Chumyung, to a fight, and he did not survive during the battle. Then he continued to travel around the province and challenge masters of non-traditional schools to battle. This journey ended with me deciding to take part in the Dragon Phoenix tournament in this place. It sounds a little far-fetched, but the ball didn't show a lie, which means he didn't make it up, the leader of the alliance and his assistant decided. Just like us, he doesn't like unconventional martial arts sects. The assistant expressed his opinion. The enemy of our enemy is our friend. Isn't it? Asked the alliance leader's assistant. Well, tomorrow there will be a final and we will continue, but now we need to rest, proposed by the leader of the Murium Union. But before that, they still expressed who they thought would win. The assistant said that he would like Yong Hui to win, but most likely Inferno will win because he is stronger. The leader agreed with this. In any case, one of them will win tomorrow. The next day, hotel for visitors and participants of the tournament. Wanho knocks on the door and turns to Yong with a reminder that the finals will begin soon and to wake up. It's strange to him that no one opens. He didn't see anyone coming out. Maybe Yong is still sleeping. When suddenly the door opens sharply and Yong appears on the threshold. Wanho sees Yong and asks him in surprise about what happened at night. Yong is glowing, full of energy and ready to fight. But this time, people had already begun to gather at the stadium. Today, the largest number of people came to watch the final. Two guys are discussing which of them bet on whom. This guy says he bet on Arigen Martial Berserker. The second one is surprised by his choice because he knows how much he doesn't like this fighter. But he believes that he has the potential to win. But his interlocutor still does not believe him that this is the only reason and mockingly tells him about it. He cannot stand it and begins to tell the truth that when he defeated the insidious Viper, he believed in him. He probably bet on the wrong one last time and is now worried that he might lose again. The friends decided to end this conversation and went to the stadium. The referee orders everyone to take their places as quickly as possible. The final of the Dragon Phoenix tournament begins, the referee says. The referee announces the participants. On the one hand, an expert in movement and palm strikes from the Flame Yang sect, the one who easily defeated his rivals, Jano, nicknamed the Divine Flame Stride. On the other hand, one whose martial skill is disgusting, but at the same time captivating, the original martial berserker, Young White. With both fighters on stage, it will be a hot fight and a little talk before the fight. Young started first and asked if Jan had gotten enough sleep. He looked tired, as if he hadn't slept all night. Even if I didn't sleep, it won't affect your defeat, Inferno replied. Great, so be it, replied Young. A blue aura glowed around him. Inferno clearly did not expect this and thought something bad about his opponent. Young seems to have reached a new level. Now it won't be easy for him to cope with him. Inferno decided to ask how Young managed to reach a new level of energy in one night. But Young modestly replied that he could not win if he did not do the same as his opponent. He simply raised his level of internal energy a little and became stronger. Even if you have reached a new level, it is not enough to surpass me, Inferno replied. The blue and purple aura collided together. The referee had to cover himself with his hand from such dazzling energy. Probably the greatest battle of the referee's mind. The referee announced the start of the fight. Young launched the first attack and decided to use a technique from the Brazilian martial art. He jumped up doing a forward somersault. He pointed his leg straight at his opponent, but Inferno blocked with his hand. Inferno immediately attacked back with a wave of energy. Young somersaulted in the air and kicked Inferno in the side. Wanho and his master are surprised by Yona's amazing fighting technique. They believe that he has become much stronger since attending Shaolin. The time came for Inferno to attack. He concentrated his energy into his palms, creating two fireballs, a technique called Yang's Flame Strike. Young prepared for the impact and watched in surprise what was happening. At great speed, Inferno crashed straight into Young's chest, putting his fiery hands in front of him. This move is called the double flame palm strike. Young flew to the end of the stage, leaving a trail of flames. The smoke has cleared and we see Young. He is still with us. He is ready to continue the fight. Young takes off his chest armor and says with a smile that if John were a little faster, he would have made a hole in his chest. Inferno thought about his words and assumed that John's previous attacks were aimed at increasing the distance between them. If so, then this is not an accident. You have reached the level to withstand my attacks, said Inferno. If you think so, then try again, Young replied. Interesting, okay, then let's see how you react now, Inferno said and lit up again and attacked. Having again developed a furious speed, he began to close the distance to Young. Young remembered that like last time at such a speed, it is impossible to suddenly change the trajectory. And this means it's time to flee in response. Young made a blow with his metal glove to meet the Inferno. Yes, Inferno couldn't go left or right, but he could jump. Looks like he has also grown in his skills since last time. Inferno now attacks from above. Because of his blow, Young remained open and Inferno took him out. The blow was struck in the face by a fiery palm. Just before the battle, Young meditated and in his thoughts simulated a battle with Inferno. He ran over 70 simulations and in most cases he lost. It's like fighting a heavyweight while being a lightweight yourself. In the world in which he lived before reincarnation, it was not possible to become stronger in half a day. But in Murim, anything can become a reality. He achieved enlightenment. In Murim, if you have achieved enlightenment, you can grow strength even in half a day. Yes, Inferno is not at the same level as him, and he does not use any weapons like Young. It's like he's fighting with himself, only with someone stronger. To win, Young must accept his power limitation and use it. He remembered his conversation with the Emperor's sword, who asked him a question about whether he thinks that his martial art represents freedom because, unlike ordinary martial arts, he does not adhere to any one technique. He compared his martial arts to a collection of some kind of mold. Young was shocked that the Emperor's sword compared his martial arts to mold. To be honest, in a past life, mixed martial arts were much stronger than individual martial arts. Therefore, many thought that martial arts was a scam. But in the world of Murima, everything that was not possible in a past life has become possible here. I have tried to apply MMA standards from a previous life until now. Fought Young, the real fight begins now. Young did a somersault and slammed Inferno into the floor. Inferno clearly didn't like it. While fighting, they used various techniques and easily repelled them. Young attacks with Inferno. Inferno concentrates fire into his hand. Inferno fires his fireball at Young, who dodges it. They fight equally like two twin brothers. Young again uses the capoeira technique, but Inferno again does not fall for such a trick. Inferno tries to reach him with his fiery hand, and Young grabs his clothes to throw him. But it was a deceptive maneuver, and Young deals a crushing blow. People saw Young using the illusion technique. The elders are also shocked. The elders realized that Young had achieved enlightenment and reached a new level. Young realized that he couldn't continue like this for long. He was using everything he had, but there was no result. The battle will be over as soon as one of them is the first to lose his vigilance. The fight continues. Young strikes, Jan blocks, and repels. This is a barehanded fight. The tension that Young is experiencing now is similar to what he felt during the title fight in his previous life. Both fighters are exhausted. They are still evenly matched. Inferno said he was interested. Young was surprised by this. Inferno compares Young's techniques with the web he created. Without taking a specific position, he is not predictable. It is difficult to guess what he will use next time. Inferno feels the freedom in Young's techniques without any certainty and burns him about it. Young replied that perhaps he was envious or jealous. Inferno called Young impudent and said that he would show him the real power of an indestructible physique. He gathered all his energy, and this time not only his palms burned, but his whole self. Flames burst from the eyes. Young was a little happy that his opponent had a hidden card in his hand, and he took it out. "Your ass must be really burned," Young shouted mockingly. Again, palm and fist met in battle, flame and cold. The leader of the alliance and his assistant no longer understood which of them was orthodox and which was unorthodox. But the leader is clearly upset about this. He shouts out that this is a real fight, as it should be destroy everything here. Inferno attacks like a demon from hell, all on fire. Young parries all attacks and delivers his own blows. Young felt pain in his hands. It seemed that Inferno's blows had become harder. The speed of the Inferno increased, and so did his palms, but how long could he maintain this state of energy? Young wondered. He is sure that Inferno will not last that long. Inferno grabbed Young's hands and said, "You look upset." Inferno pressed on the armored bracers and they cracked. Flying into pieces, Inferno lifted Young by the hands, and he threw it with such force that the stage shattered into pieces, which flew high into the air from the explosion. There was little left of the stage, a lot of dust and fragments. The blast wave reached the stands. Inferno began jumping on the fragments as if on a path. He tried to find Young and finish him off. Finally, he saw something blue and immediately rushed to grab it, but it turned out to be just a piece of fabric. It turned out to be a trap, and Young's fist was already flying from the side towards Inferno's head. Young managed to gain speed before the blow so that the blow would be crushing. Young landed and his opponent flew into a pile of stones. Young turned around to see what happened. It is clear that he is tired, and this is a difficult fight like everything before. Inferno stood up. How could they stand at all? Are they cyborgs or Terminators? Yes, this is Murim. Everything is possible here, and so they stand opposite each other. Have they really run out of tricks? Let's see further. Both fighters rush towards each other like magnets. Gaining enormous speed, Inferno jumps up again and forms a fire dragon which he plans to launch at Young. The fire dragon and continuous streams of fire headed straight towards the enemy. But Young is not going to just wait. He also ran to meet Inferno. He needs to focus, gather and place all the techniques from his previous life with those that he has now. Young began to run even faster. Like a lightning man, he walked away from the fiery shaft. Inferno is at a loss as to how someone can run even faster than him. He had no equal in this. Having seen where Young stopped, Inferno turns there and is about to launch a new attack. Young took an unusual stance for a counterattack. Inferno is about to use Fireball again, but he uses the Kyokushin style of karate and Inferno takes a series of blows. Young is breathing heavily. He is almost exhausted at the limit. Inferno falls. His fiery eyes have gone out. It seems there is no more energy. Young says that he feels sorry for the one who fell. This was a super fun fight, thank you, Young said. The winner is Young White from the Golden Tiger Wall School, nicknamed the Combat Eccentric. The Golden Tiger Wall's martial eccentric, Yomuite, wins. Murim refers to a world of martial arts. Narration describes a great war between orthodox and demonic sects, resulting in a decisive orthodox victory and a subsequent era of peace. Illustrations show a large hand crushing a sword and a man being defeated. The narration explains that this peace fostered complacency among martial artists, hindering martial arts development and creating a sense of crisis, with martial arts displayed prominently sensing the decline. Martial masters hosted the Dragon Phoenix meet to preserve martial arts, with elders gathered around a table featuring a dragon and phoenix design. Narration reveals that an unexpected individual won the 43rd Dragon Phoenix meet, the youngest son of the Golden Tiger Wall, one of the world's merchant guilds. As two men smile. Narration further clarifies that no one knows the victor's martial arts affiliation or training history, as other martial artists observe with curiosity. A new rising star has appeared, revitalizing the stagnant Murim as a group of martial artists look on. The identity of the rising star is confirmed. His name is Yomuite. As his smiling face is shown in a close-up, Yomuite stands calmly amidst the destroyed arena, looking confident and composed after his intense battle. The narration box declares Yomuite to be the strongest champion in the history of the Dragon Phoenix meet. Yomuite gazes upwards with a confident and serene expression, reflecting on his achievement or contemplating what comes next. A man on a platform dramatically announces the final special event, the Dragon Phoenix Duel, where the current winner faces the previous champion. To an excited crowd, two martial artists clash midair, illustrating the Dragon Phoenix Duel. The closing event where the current tournament winner faces the previous champion. Spectators murmur excitedly as narration explains that this battle between winners, though generally more celebratory, is often considered even more thrilling than the finals. The announcer, a man with a mustache, dramatically declares, "Now then, let's introduce the competitors." He uses a bizarre martial art, yet it's stronger than any other. Yomuite is announced as the 43rd Dragon Phoenix meets champion, martial eccentric as the excited crowd cheers. Show us what you're made of today, too. Embedding on you again this time. And you're so handsome. Yomuite reacts with a sheepish, haha. Well, his inner thoughts reveal that several days have passed since the finals. But the craze still hasn't cooled down thanks to the big match between the champions. A shining heaven ascension elixir, described as one of the champion's prizes that grants seers worth of inner energy, is shown in a wooden box. Yomuite glows with blue energy, noting he's overflowing with strength after consuming the elixir and confidently stating, Yomuite's gaze hardens as he reminds himself, but I can't afford to be careless after all. My opponent is none other the previous champion. The Archer Empress, Siomayan, is formally introduced as the 42nd Dragon Phoenix meets winner, poised with her bow. From a distance, two men discuss their failed attempts to recruit Yomuite. Wondering if their offered conditions were not tempting enough, one man suggests trying to coax Yomuite again, to which another man with glasses replies with exasperation, "That's already the 30th time you've said that." The man with glasses asserts that Yomuite isn't someone who can be tied down, explaining that he seeks freedom, just like his martial arts, and won't join the Murim alliance. The first man angrily tells the man with glasses to recruit Yomuite himself, calling him better than anyone. The man with glasses sighs. He's so annoying. The man with glasses then proposes recruiting Django, the runner-up, arguing that he, quote, the man with the mustache questions if the man with glasses is still suspicious of his background regarding Django. The man with glasses confirms that Django's truthfulness was already confirmed through proper investigation, but the mustache man admits something still feels off about him. The mustache man expresses a strong intuition to be cautious of that guy, then asks the man with glasses, should we look into him more thoroughly? The mustache man waves off the discussion about Django, suggesting, nah, forget it, let's talk about that later, and shifts topic to ask, who do you think will win between those two? The two competitors are contrasted. Siomayan, a renowned martial master, and Yomuite, who has only just ascended to that level recently. Though the man with the mustache finds him quite a peculiar fellow, the man with glasses observes the two as complete opposites, concluding that the outcome is already somewhat obvious. The man with the mustache, identified as the Murim alliance leader, concedes he knows the likely outcome, but admits he, quote, can't help being curious. Murim alliance leader concludes his thoughts by stating, I want to see how they'll handle a matchup of total opposites. Yomuite smiles confidently and greets Siomayan, asking, it's been a while, Mayan, are you ready? Siomayan, holding her bow, responds, of course, I've fully prepared myself to face you, my dear martial eccentric, to which Yomuite humbly replies, ha, am honored. Siomayan blows with red energy, gripping her bow and warning Yomuite, you'd better be prepared. Yomuite radiates blue energy, grins fiercely, and declares, that's exactly what I was hoping for. The announcer raises his arm, signaling the start of the duel by stating, if both participants are ready. Close-ups show Yomuite and Siomayan's expressions as the announcer continues. Let the Dragon Phoenix duel, the announcer shouts. Begin, as Yomuite springs forward with blue energy, while Siomayan launches an attack with a fiery red arrow. A close-up shows a foot with a red glow, suggesting swift movement as the duel intensifies. Yomuite attacks from above with blue energy, while Siomayan counters with a powerful red energy arrow from below, marking the explosive start of their battle. Yomuite grunts, as he is caught in a powerful pink energy blast, recoiling from the impact of Siomayan's attack. Yomuite is sent falling backward, looking up in shock as intense pink energy bursts violently around him from the sustained attack. Yomuite swiftly regains his footing, initiating a dynamic taekwondo maneuver with a blue energy surge around him. Yomuite unleashes a powerful spinning back kick, generating a wide, arcing blue energy wave as he attacks. Yomuite, with a focused expression, internally considers that a continuous attack is bound to have openings as Siomayan prepares her next move. Yomuite is struck again by a purple energy attack, which impacts forcefully around his upper body, causing him to stagger. Yomuite realizes the immense power of Siomayan's headless, energy-infused arrows, noting that without his gauntlets, his arm would have been pierced. Yomuite continues to assess Siomayan, finding her light as a feather footwork more troublesome than her powerful attacks. Contrasting it with his own explosive style, Yomuite internally struggles with Siomayan's agility, feeling his footwork won't catch her, like trying to hit a feather with a boulder. Yomuite, with his eyes closed and blue energy flickering around him, determines that there is only one way left to achieve victory. Seo Mayan maintains her intense focus, acknowledging to herself that she has successfully, quote, built up momentum during the duel. Yomuite gathers blue energy, contemplating that his former self wouldn't have dared this, but the Heaven Ascension elixir's power makes it possible. Yomuite confidently challenges Seo Mayan, declaring that she cannot expect to keep fighting him from a distance. Yomuite unleashes my fist energy as a massive blue energy blast descends towards Seo Mayan. From above, the scene transitions to a peaceful, bright sky and a horse-drawn carriage moving along a road, implying the conclusion of the battle. A bandaged woman, identified as Inyi, expresses furious disbelief, questioning if that bastard ended up winning. Huh? Inyi angrily laments that Yomuite ruined her face, completely humiliated her, and even took the championship, declaring it too much. Inyi furiously shouts, I swear I'll kill him, while another woman urges her, Inyi, please calm down. As a third woman looks on anxiously, the calm woman reassures Inyi, telling her to endure a little longer, as they are already searching for an assassination group to help them. The calm woman explains that a guy who agreed to help will be present, and they will commence their revenge the moment that bastard appears as a shadowy figure looms behind her. The calm woman advises Inyi to focus on recuperating. While Inyi lies sobbing sob from her injuries, the calm woman clenches her jaw, seething about how Yomuite dared to ruin Inyi's face and bring disgrace to their sect. The man who was Yomuite holds a circular object, his mind filled with questions. Where is this place? And who am I? Indicating memory loss? The man with bandaged face holding the object reflects. Having no thoughts doesn't mean there's nothing to think. If I don't think, then I don't exist. A close-up reveals the man's bandaged mouth and a slight grimace on his face. The man questions his own thought. What kind of idiotic thought is that? I didn't exist in this place to begin with. While Komayan, seated opposite, muses, it's not that, is it? Komayan eyes the man, wondering, geez, is this really the same guy who was so sharp before, and asks if the loss was really that shocking for you? The man smiles wryly, stating that the shocking part isn't simply losing, but that he, quote, was completely defeated. The man recalls his past defeats, including losing to Jang Ho and later to the Sword Emperor and Plum Blossom Warrior during training. The man remembers suffering defeats even before he became the strongest champion in his past life. As a victorious man raises his arm in a championship ring, the man with a bandaged face tells Seo Mayan that despite his past defeats, this was the first time he couldn't even touch his opponent, making this loss particularly shocking. He recalls how, during their fight, whenever he tried to close the distance to strike Seo Mayan, she would simply step back and fire another arrow, anticipating his moves. He remembers his belief that his renowned, 100 bewildering footwork would be sufficient to finally catch her during their duel. However, he quickly realized her footwork was a superior mobility art, rendering his, quote, 100 bewildering footwork no match for it. As Mayan deftly aimed an arrow, the man complains that Seo Mayan's strategy of running and shooting arrows was cowardly, but she counters, asking how an archer is supposed to fight otherwise, and points out he also used his fist energy. The man grumbles that his sloppy energy blast drained his internal energy, leaving him unrecovered, while Mayan remarks that she can clearly see he's still weak. The man then reflects that this experience painfully confirms his weakness against ranged attacks, and acknowledges the critical need to find a way to overcome this disadvantage. He concludes that the potential solution to overcome his weakness might be available to him right where he is now. Mayan presents a cylindrical object to the man, reminding him it is the reward from the job she previously mentioned. Mayan confirms the reward is, quote, an advanced cultivation technique that could harmonize opposing energies and was highly stable, which was precisely what he had requested, surprising him. The man explains that his martial arts had reached a plateau at the Hainan branch, prompting him to seek a way to evolve them, and he concluded that mastering elemental attributes was the answer. He elaborates that while learning a single attribute is achievable, he became ambitious and sought a cultivation technique capable of harmonizing multiple different attributes. The man expresses his excitement, stating he only asked Mayan with slim hope, but since she holds a high position in the Murim alliance, she truly found it, calling it a, quote, jackpot. The man looks at the provided scroll with surprise, muttering in confusion, What is this? Chai Huanwu Komeyan explains this is Chai Huanwu, a quote, mad destructive hermit who illegally modified a Wudong sect technique after rising through the ranks. The man asks if it's true that Chai Huanwu created a technique harmonizing different elements. Komeyan adds that the Wudong sect banned the technique as unstable and dangerous, exiling him. Komeyan advises him not to get his hopes up too much, but admits such stories often hold truth. She states this is all the information she can give, prompting the man to ask if he must find the person himself. Komeyan confirms his assumption, explaining that if the Murim alliance were to directly provide such a dangerous manual, the Wudong sect would strongly protest. Mayon warns that a strong protest from the Wudong sect over the manual could destabilize the balance of entire Jianghu. Illustrating her point with a scene of burning flags, she explains the Murim alliance's conclusion was to only provide clues about techniques similar to what he requested, making it entirely his responsibility to obtain it. The man accepts, acknowledging his request was excessive, and that he wouldn't want to cause conflict among the major sects, declaring himself satisfied with the outcome. Komeyan declares the transaction complete. The man stands to leave, explaining he still has other matters to attend to. The man adds that it wouldn't be good for rumors to spread about a man and woman chatting alone late at night. Then thanks Mayon for the information on the cultivation technique. As he turns to leave, Komeyan stops him, instructing him not to blame himself too much for losing to her, which causes him to pause and question her remark. Komeyan explains his loss was simply due to his inexperience in fighting against archers. Komeyan confidently states that if the man were more accustomed to fighting against ranged attacks, she would have been the one to lose their duel. Komeyan smiles warmly, emphasizing her earlier remark about his potential to have won if he were more experienced with ranged combat. Under the moonlight, the man examines the manual, noting that Sahuan Wu's last known location near Mount Huiji in Zhejiang province is not too far. The man lies down, contemplating that he knows the location and only needs to find Sahuan Wu, but then realizes there is one specific place he needs to visit first. The man, having located his target, expresses readiness to find him. However, he immediately revises his plan, revealing he must visit a crucial place before commencing the search. The man visualizes his future training, planning to learn ranged martial arts, acquire secret elemental-based attack techniques, and then use divine-level cultivation to expand the range of his martial arts. He acknowledges that elemental attacks can be ranged, but notes they are typically devastating finishers that are powerful yet consume a lot of internal energy. The man decides to first learn a basic ranged technique like finger bullet, and then infuse it with elemental power to create highly efficient, high-destruction elemental projectiles. Lying down, the man smiles widely, pointing his fingers like a gun and exclaiming, "Damn, this is a dream for men." He believes he can afford the necessary manuals for finger bullet and elemental arts, with the prize money from the Dragon Phoenix meet, and plans to depart immediately after receiving it. No, wait, who knows when that reward will even come. Sitting around and waiting isn't my style since Eve said it. I'm going now. With a determined smirk, the man decides to set off on his journey without further delay. Maohuji in Zhejiang province is described as a scenic and peaceful location, with legends of King Guwan and Prince Fu Xiuwu from the spring and autumn period. A shopkeeper lies slumped outside a building at the base of Mount Riji, sighing dejectedly about his hopes of making a living from tourists. The shopkeeper, an older man with a beard, grumbles about his poor decision to settle there, lamenting, "Peace of mind, my foot. I really shouldn't have settled here." The narration explains the shopkeeper moved to this scenic location to live out his twilight years peacefully, away from Beijing's bustle, after his health deteriorated. The shop is shown with falling leaves, and the narration reveals that despite knowing business wouldn't boom, the shopkeeper never expected it to be so utterly deserted. The shopkeeper sits disheartened, muttering that he's about to starve and might have to return to Beijing, worried for his health. "Excuse me, is this the Ximbua shop that sells rare items at cheap prices?" The shopkeeper is startled, recognizing the speech pattern, and realizing that a person has finally arrived. The shopkeeper's eyes widen in surprise as he joyfully realizes he's a customer, while the man smiles cheerfully. The shopkeeper enthusiastically welcomes the man, confirming his shop is the Ximbua shop, known for having everything and offering items cheaper than other establishments. The shopkeeper asks what the man is looking for, who replies he needs a couple of martial art manuals, adding he's not too concerned about how powerful they are. I'm open to any type. The shopkeeper assures the man they have a vast array of manuals, and the man then specifies that he wants to start with manuals focused on specific attributes. The man lists an extensive range of desired manuals: poison arts, heat arts, ice arts, stealth arts, lightning arts, and if possible, demon-suppressing arts as well, shocking the shopkeeper with, "Yeah, you want that many." The man asks if he requested too much, but the shopkeeper quickly reassures him, confirming they carry all the basic techniques he mentioned. The shopkeeper sweats nervously, contemplating the man's request and the cost. The shopkeeper hesitates, mentioning that purchasing them all might be a little expensive, while the man grins with an air of confidence, surrounded by ominous energy. The man confidently dismisses the shopkeeper's concern about money, which prompts a puzzled look from the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper gasps in surprise, "Ho!" as the man prepares to show him something. The man kneels and opens a wooden box, revealing it's filled with shining gold bars, confidently stating, "They'll have plenty left, even after buying everything I need." Shopkeeper stares in utter disbelief, realizing the shabby-looking box was full of money. The man, holding a gold bar, asks the delighted shopkeeper, "Oh, and there's one more thing I'd like to ask. I heard someone with the nickname Eccentric Immortal lives here on Entuija. Do you know of him?" The shopkeeper, still clutching a gold bar, replies that he's only been there for a year, and isn't familiar with everyone, to which the man simply says, "I see." The shopkeeper then asks the man if he plans to go up the mountain, and the man confirms, "Yes, I do." The shopkeeper advises the man against climbing the mountain, stating it might not be his place as a merchant, but he strongly recommends against it. The man, surprised, immediately asks for the reason behind the shopkeeper's warning. The shopkeeper, sweating nervously and still holding a gold bar, explains that he hasn't seen the reason himself, but there are rumors circulating about the mountain. The shopkeeper reveals there's a demonic beast on the mountain. The man repeats in surprise, "A demonic beast," as the shopkeeper appears distressed, describing the ominous presence. The shopkeeper explains that the demonic beast isn't particularly large, but moves unpredictably, and has attacked those who have attempted to climb the mountain. The shopkeeper laments that the beast's presence caused all tourists to stop visiting Amtawaja, forcing him to consider leaving. The man appears thoughtful, pondering the news of a demonic beast. The man declares that the presence of a demonic beast makes him want to climb the mountain even more. The shopkeeper, shocked, frantically warns him, "Yes, you shouldn't wait. You're still planning to go?" The man, smiling, acknowledges the shopkeeper's concern, but dismisses it, while the shopkeeper still anxiously holds the gold bar, eyeing the box full of wealth. Looking up at the majestic mountains, the man confidently declares that he cannot resist his curiosity, and intends to proceed with his climb. The man enters the serene mountain forest, and a thought bubble appears, signaling his next step with a contemplative, "Now then." Walking deeper into the forest, the man reviews his newly acquired manuals, deciding to focus on supplementing his weakest areas with poison and demon-suppressing arts, but choosing to begin with lightning-based arts first. The man's face is set with determination as he continues his journey through the woods. Clutching a martial arts manual firmly in his hand, the man questions if he's reached the spiritual power spot mentioned by the shopkeeper, then expresses awe at the incredible and vast mountain view. The man expresses frustration, noting that despite information stating someone resides on the mountain, he has searched all day, but found no one. The man recounts his skepticism regarding the martial arts sex information about a martial artist on the mountain who can teach all common techniques, finding it absurd and strange that such a powerful individual would remain undisturbed. Standing at a cliff's edge, the man sighs, stating that if the information proves to be nonsense, he will be really disappointed. Neon, a dark, ominous presence with a glowing red eye and streaks of red energy appears, signaling an unseen threat or a sudden attack. The man's eye widens in shock, and a burst of blue energy emanates around him, indicating a sudden realization or activation of power. The man reacts swiftly, twisting his body into a defensive stance, and sharply demands, "Who's there?" in response to the unseen presence. The man, looking back, confirms he felt a faint energy, saying that was definitely a faint energy just now, as he senses something unseen. The man deduces that the aura he sensed indicates at least a peak martial master, then wonders if it could be the beast the shopkeeper had warned him about. Alright then, if you want come out, I'll find you myself. The man's perspective shifts to a grayscale vision as he decides to amplify his senses, believing he can detect even a peak martial master's hidden presence. In the amplified, grayscale vision, a glowing red spot appears in the grass, indicating a hidden presence, and the man confidently states, "He'll definitely catch them." The man, enveloped in blue energy, lunges with a punch, exclaiming, "There you are," as he targets the reedied creature partially visible below. A powerful, unseen force causes a massive section of the mountain cliff to violently break off and crumble, indicating an immense impact. The man lands gracefully amidst falling debris, his fist still clenched, observing the spot where his attack landed, with a faint blue aura around him. The man's face contorts in shock and confusion, with sweat beading as he mutters, "That's strange, I'm sure it was here just a moment ago." The man looks down, seemingly dumbfounded, at a small squirrel perched on a tree branch, trailing off with, "That's a close-up reveals the demonic beast is actually a small, dark squirrel with glowing red eyes, posed menacingly, making the man question, "Squirrel?" The man stands completely bewildered, staring at the small squirrel, which simply sits on a branch and emits a tiny squeak, completely undercutting his previous assumptions. The man reacts in disbelief, spitting out whatever he was holding, as the absurdity of his recent encounter with a demonic beast that turned out to be a mere squirrel sets in. The man bursts into uproarious laughter, calling himself an idiot for believing a squirrel could be a demonic beast. While the little squirrel looks on with a confused cue sound, the man, now calm, apologizes to the squirrel for his sudden attack, explaining he was on edge, and promises to bring it acorns if they meet again before walking away. The man pauses, his expression turning thoughtful, as he realizes that something about his recent encounter with the squirrel was indeed strange. The man recalls his internal energy-infused attack, pondering how the small squirrel neither ran away nor flinched. Despite the power he put into his strike, the man dismisses his peculiar thoughts about the squirrel's resilience with a confident, "Nah," a smirk playing on his lips as he continues his journey. The man's eyes widen in disbelief, exclaiming, "No way," as the small suddenly lunges towards him. Surrounded by an ominous red energy trail, the squirrel delivers a shocking, powerful blow directly to the man's face, making him recoil and cry out, "Gah!" as intense impact sounds echo. The man is knocked off his feet and sprawls onto the ground, defeated by the squirrel's unexpected attack, while the squirrel stands smugly on a nearby log. The man lies injured on the ground, clutching his head and cursing the damned squirrel, then suddenly realizes with a shocked expression that the powerful energy he sensed earlier might have belonged to the squirrel. The squirrel, now visibly menacing with a wide grin and enlarged form, confirms its power with that squeak, causing the man's face to contort in utter horror and dawning realization. The man rises, angered by the squirrel's deception, and confronts it, declaring, "Seriously, you lowly creature, you dare make a fool of me?" With a terrifyingly enraged expression, the man vows, "If I catch you, you're dead meat," to the squirrel, while an ad for Osur Skinskum is displayed below.